you and you're acting like it's strange. Cause being human so peculiar, we're too scared to make a change. Everybody's out to get you and you're acting like it's strange. Cause being human so peculiar, we're too scared to make a change. Shakara, ha, Shakara, ha, Shakara, ha, Shakara, ha, Shakara.
And we are back once again from a hidden chamber inside of the Hoover Dam where LSD is mixed in with the drinking water for Las Vegas. This is a library of mass destruction. I'm your host, Capitalisimo, and with me is Christopher Sandbatch. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm pumped about the fucking beverages, bro.
The bevies. We're electric Kool-Aid acid testing the entire state of Nevada and the broader American Southwest.
Have you ever live from the high desert, the great American Southwest? Have you ever read Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test?
Tom Wolfe, I have, yeah, but it was in high school, so
yeah, me too.
Yeah, you read
it made quite an impression if you can't
in my high school, yeah, yeah. Yes. Have you've never dreamed of having such experiences? I'm sure you're a good Christian boy who likes to toe the line. You've never met the Anunnaki, have you?
Jesus is wild, bro.
I also read. I was on a bit of a Tom Wolfe kick in high school at one point, and that tells you everything you need to know about me as a person.
Same, literally same. He's like one of my if in my pantheon of heroes, he's like number 2.
Really?
No, he's
really?
He's probably in the top 5, but definitely not. Definitely, I mean, I only have one left that's alive. They're all dead.
How do you feel about Bonfire of the Vanities? Obviously,
it's good. It's not by my favorite one is The Right Stuff.
Okay. I have not read The Right Stuff. I admit.
I like and also the other one that I really like. I like Now and the Flat Catchers, of course, but the other one I really like that a lot of people didn't like is I Am Charlotte Simmons. Everybody wants to talk about Stoner being the great campus novel, but like, first of all, fuck you for doing that kind of autistic genre like specialization in the first one. The campus novel, the fucking woman's campus novel, the lesbian woman's campus novel, you don't
need porn tags and all of your porn tags.
I don't even like the designation literary fiction.
Muck Anglo-Saxons.
I'm just like, it's a book. You wrote a book, dude.
You wrote a book. It's got words in it. It's just like a series of words that paint a hallucination, a consensual hallucination in the mind of the reader.
Yeah.
Right?
That's exactly right.
Randall Shirker out of the gate with his weekly dono to the cause.
Weekly $5.
Yes, thank you, Randall. Having messed around with AI agents as a means of getting around Google search being bad. So true. I state that I can state that I am afraid of people making mini Jolly-ons.
Don't have no fear. I would like to Randall Shirker, one of the great LMDers.
Yep.
He's an LM dealer.
He's got his library card. That's right.
I can tell you, I'm in a pretty good mood today. No, actually, I've actually had a very difficult day. I was in the hospital last night, but
Oh my God. Are you all right?
I had a heart attack, but
What?
yeah,
You can't. Okay. All right. Go on, since you clearly don't want to talk about that. And I'm
Really
going to
don't.
circle back.
Yeah, I really don't. But incidentally, I conceptualized the use of AI agents, and when I know how to use them extraordinarily well. So I conceptualized a thing that, according to the timer and according to the expected timer, in 8.5 hours is going to exist. That is theoretically more frightening than anything Jolly on West ever thought.
A
It
chick
was so
with a
easy.
penis?
It scared me how easy it was.
Okay. What did you make?
I'm
Or
literally not going.
we'll find out. We'll find out as soon as it launches.
Literally, had I gotten on the call earlier, I was going to
Yeah.
tell you.
Okay.
But it's like one of those things where like actually is so terrifying that like now that it's literally the Frankenstein. It's like now that I have it, what the fuck do I do with it?
You're making alien disclosure is now predictive programming for your project. That's what you're saying.
Oh, Shirkers, Sandbatch. So I'm using mostly DeepSeek and Grok. So if you're using DeepSeek, I'm guessing you're using LM Studio. There are some interesting, and I'm like one of the models that I have pulled up right now. It's called if you head on over, there's a great Hugging Face user who goes by David AU, and it's all it is. It's David AU. He hosts and maintains a number of very cool obliterated models. And obliterated models, what it means they've done is, if you understand the way LLMs work, the alignment layer, the one that causes it to like not come up
is
with,
completely removed.
the alignment layer is disrupted, and so it is incapable of doing what some of the shit that you all would like to think about doing. Yeah.
Wait, so the alignment, you're saying the alignment layer does exist or does not exist?
It's sort of like, imagine it's just been, who was the Kennedy daughter?
The one who got the Rosemary Kennedy? The one who got,
it's been Rosemary Kennedy.
she got ice picked? Okay,
Yeah.
so it's been literally lobotomized. Its forebrain has been removed.
Yeah, and so there are some because it's like it's obliterating a model rather than actually just like clinic surgically disrupting the alignment layer, will possibly produce some downstream effects, so they can get a little bitchy and they can get a little finicky and they get hung up on things easier, but they can't refuse.
They're schizophrenic slaves. Great. Exactly what I want. I'm not being sarcastic.
And here I am. I'm on library. I mean, normally I wouldn't even go around spreading that information, but like whenever I say this, like the thing that I just did is like so cool.
It's so cool. You're gonna get the Nobel War Prize for this.
The thing that I will say to you all is that
now is your chance to bow down.
There's I solved one of the fundamental problems in American democracy, and I did it by
the second word.
I did it by turning democracy up to 11.
Okay.
Cool.
Explain. Yeah. What does that mean?
I really can't, because
okay. Until it's functioning, we don't know. You need to give this thing its own Twitter account.
It's not that exciting actually. It's a very specialized thing that a certain tranche of people would be very interested in using, but it does effectively destroy all of the consensual guardrails that exist around their ability to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. I DDD'd the U.S. government is what I did.
I do hate consent. So I guess I'm in favor.
Just if you tell me I can't do something, that's gonna make me want to do it.
Sex Freakman says Sandy is learning the salmon fish post. That's right. Yes, King Salmon. Haven't seen him in a while. Probably Salmon Fish was Renee Good. There we go. That's we've solved.
Good.
Oh, not good. All right. So yeah.
Wait, hold on. Now, don't Shirker Dusty says, but yes, Sandbatch, I seriously believe you can make an AI that can DDD people at scale and not even have it realize what's going on. Buddy,
that is the social media algorithms.
Yeah, that's it. That's literally it. I mean, dude, okay, so like really all an LLM is, LLMs on their own are not that impressive. What they are, all they do is embed a query, they embed a prompt, okay, and then they go do the same math that is used they do functionally the same math that's used to determine what your Twitter feed looks like. And the output is configured such that it predicts sequentially what the next token after the next token after the next token is going to be. But if you change that purpose from predicting token after token after token to predicting what this person wants to see after what they want to see after what they want to see after what they want to see, you got TikTok,
Yep. Yeah. Fascination is the actual weapon of AI. That's that's something that people are unwilling to don't see or are unwilling to acknowledge.
It's what it is. It's one of those things. Because it's simultaneous. It's what I said when I was talking about MKUltra. It's simultaneously more banal and more unsettling than the idea that MKUltra was just giving hippies acid.
Yeah, for sure. It absolutely is. The whole like all of the salacious parts of MKUltra, like the giving hippies acid shit. It's just because they needed a group of people and they needed to test the parameters of the human mind.
Yeah, we got GPUs now, though.
Yeah, exactly. And like a sober-minded individual with a completely captured info stream is so much more fucked than someone who has been dosed, because eventually the acid wears off. But if you have been completely acculturated to an info stream, that's not going anywhere.
Oh, but Sugar, if you DM me on Twitter, I'll send you links to the. This is the biggest one. It's only 120.
You can't kill our strongest soldier.
No, I wouldn't even. He's going to immediately use them. He's going to be like, Grok, I need more people to give $5 a week to Library of Mass Destruction.
That's right. That's what we need. Shirker has self DDD'd. Alrighty. Let's see here. So I do want to say, and I previously said that our favorite guy, Louis Jolyon West, is not in this book.
Yeah,
I was wrong. He is in this book.
He's here. He's knocking on the door right now.
I don't know if we're going. We're either going to barely get to it in this episode, or we're going to get to it in the next episode.
Yeah,
but he's around page 170. So I am excited for that. Although McGowan has missed a couple opportunities to mention him already. So there is that where he's not he hasn't given the devil his due, basically. But it is what it is. Well, we will get to it, and that is a little something to look forward to. But today we are kind of continuing the list of ships. So we have a lot of weirdos to cover yet before we get into that stuff. So we will begin at the line break here. Relatively little has been written about the murder of Dr. Vincent Oda and his family on October 19th, 1970, though the crime was no less sensational than the slaughter at the Polanski Tate residence the year before. There were two marked differences between the Santa Cruz crime scene and the Benedict Canyon crime scene. In Santa Cruz, none of the victims was a national celebrity, and the job was done more professionally. In a spectacular home overlooking the bay, Dr. Oda, his secretary, Dorothy Cadwallader, his wife, Virginia, and his sons, Derek and Taggart. Wow. Taggart Oda. That kid was born to play fucking lacrosse, was he not? Were bound and blindfolded and then shot in the head from behind, execution style, thus robbing America of a gold medalist lacrosse team. They were then tossed into the home's pool, some of them while they were still alive. The house was then set afire in several locations, thus destroying the crime scene. The family's Rolls-Royce and Lincoln Continental were parked across, this is not equivalent cars, were parked across the home's driveway entrances, denying access to the emergency vehicles that attempted to respond to the fires. A third car, a 1968 Oldsmobile station wagon, was missing. That's the one you steal. Okay. There was little in the way of crime scene evidence. The main portion of the house was completely gutted by the fires. The victims' bodies had been washed clean in the pool. A driving rain in the early morning hours had thoroughly washed away any footprints or other evidence that might have been left outside the home. Police initially said that they had found no scrawled messages and no evidence of burglary. When the missing Oldsmobile was found, torched and abandoned in a tunnel, it also failed to yield any evidence. Torching it in a tunnel is a wild choice, because then you gotta get out of the tunnel, right? With a burning vehicle. I mean, presumably you have a second vehicle, but yeah. What?
No.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that is the one you steal, right? Like, because it's an anonymous kind of vehicle. You know, it's like stealing a Ford Windstar, right? Like, who cares that you have taken this vehicle? You're a million like it, but you know, I don't know. In principle, it's cooler to steal the Rolls. Let's see. Sex Freakman says, you heard of destroying elephants in the field. Now get ready for obliterating models in the field. You know, I hadn't read the whole thing. I glanced and I saw elephants and I thought it would be a banger. They can't all be winners, Sex Freakman. You're great at this, but that one was not your best work. All right. Although there was little for police to work with, one thing seemed clear enough. These murders were not the work of a lone perpetrator. Some investigators and much of the public immediately suspected that another homicidal cult was at work. It seemed very unlikely that a sole assailant would have been able to bind all 5 victims, drag all their bodies out to the pool, start multiple fires, blockade the driveway, and then make a clean getaway. 2 guns were used in the commission of the crimes. The 38 caliber weapon that killed Dr. Oda and the 22 caliber weapon that killed the others. A witness reported seeing 3 people in the vicinity of the abandoned Oldsmobile, and 3 sets of footprints were found leading from the tunnel to an adjacent river. 2 people who fit the witness's description were reportedly found in the search area, but there is no indication of what became of those potential suspects. For obvious reasons, a sheriff's spokesman announced at a press conference that police were seeking more than one perpetrator. A few days later, however, John Fraser was arrested and charged with being the sole perpetrator of the crimes. An industrious man, if real, if true. An initial report on the arrest falsely claimed that Fraser had waged a gun battle with police when he was actually taken into custody without incident. Would have been cool if it happened, though. Quote, the journalist, whoever that was. John Fraser had been placed in foster care at the age of 5. He later ended up in a series of juvenile detention facilities. He was said to have a history of sleepwalking and horrifying nightmares. Despite his troubled upbringing, a friend described Fraser as having been a perfectly normal family man and competent mechanic right up until the time that he suddenly changed his lifestyle dramatically and began speaking gibberish. On July 4th, 1970, just 3 months before the murders, Fraser left his wife. At that time, he apparently took up residence in a shack accessible via a drawbridge on a property near the Oda residence. While living there, he reportedly collected guns. I mean, you just in the LA area, you just can build a fucking troll shack with a fucking drawbridge and load it full of guns. The 1970s were way different in California.
Dude, it's dangerous to imagine 1970s California. And that's a baseline assumption of Sandbatchism. And even though this has been a horrifying book so far, you got to take the bad with the good.
I mean, this is over. I mean, the overall living in a shack with a drawbridge and a gun is dude's clubhouse, right? The guy almost invented the man cave in 1970.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to stay away from your wife for a while, live in a shack with all of your favorite stuff, have a drawbridge. No girls allowed. No girls allowed in the drawbridge shack. I don't know. It's pretty cool. Following his arrest, Frazier was assigned James Jackson, the chief assistant public defender of Santa Cruz County, as his defense counsel. Assisting Jackson was Harold Cartwright, a former U.S. Marine and police lieutenant working as Jackson's private investigator. Also brought on board by Jackson was Donald Lund, a former Navy man and professor of psychiatry at the Stanford University Medical School, the same Stanford University Medical School from the 1970s that you may have heard of. Not far from Santa Cruz. His team remained together to handle the Kemper and Mullen cases as well. Also on the same team, for all practical purposes, was prosecutor Peter Chang. It is unclear whether these four men knew each other before the Frazier trial began, but in his book, Lund makes it clear that he, Chang, Jackson, and Cartwright were fast friends by trial's end and frequently saw each other socially thereafter. This undoubtedly made it much easier to coordinate the shamelessly fraudulent Kemper and Mullen trials. Amazing. Yeah, I mean, when your defense attorney and the prosecutor are just chilling and grilling, it does seem like it would be tough to get a fair trial. But who am I to say? On October 28th, 1970, a grand jury indicted Frazier on 5 counts of murder. The defendant entered a plea of not guilty, which was later changed on January 19th, 1971, to not guilty by reason of insanity. I believe that by reason of I think the insanity defense should be counted as an admission of guilt, and you should receive a harsher punishment than if you had not been insane. But yes, let's see.
That's one of your. When I think about that, I initially bristle, but then I think about it, I'm like, yeah, he's right.
Look, you may not have culpability in the eyes of God, but that's not what the law is supposed to do.
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
Sir, this is a Wendy's. Anyone who doesn't dunk their fries in the Frosty deserves the electric chair. That's how it is. Johnny Walt sends $2 super chat. Says you can build a shack in California anywhere now. That's true. You can't be white though, and if you are, you have to be on meth. You actually have to.
Man, what even is a white man? Man,
what is a woman? Yes. All right. You already use your insanity offensively. You can't use it defensively too. True. It's so OP. That's right. A gag order was issued and the trial was moved to Redwood City, but the Santa Cruz team remained on the case. Helming the trial, which began in October 1971, was Judge Charles Franich. By late November, Frazier had been convicted on all 5 murder counts. It is unclear what evidence those convictions were based on. No murder weapon was ever found, so there were no ballistics evidence. There was no witness to the crime, and virtually all forensic evidence was destroyed by the fires and the rain. One witness reportedly identified Frazier as the driver of the abandoned Oldsmobile. It was claimed at one time by the DA's office that fingerprints had been recovered from the typewriter found in the incinerated home, but it was later acknowledged that that statement had not been accurate. It was also claimed, implausibly enough, that fingerprints were recovered from a beer can found in the home. Dr. Lund seems to have played a key role in garnering the convictions when he testified, for the defense, mind you, that Frazier had confessed the crime to him during a psychiatric examination. Lund also assured the court, he's crazy. John Frazier illustrated that point when he arrived for court during the penalty phase of the trial with half his head and face shaved clean. He was sentenced to death, but that sentence was later set aside by a 1976 Supreme Court decision. The one where it said, you have to feed and house the insane forever for free. That's that one. There are many questions left unanswered in the Oda Frazier case. Among them is the question of what Dorothy Cadwallader was doing at the Oda home. Cadwallader, yeah, I guess that's what her name is. What a weird ass name. Worked at Oda's office, not at his home, and she was not known to be a visitor to the residence. Press reports claim that she was there to babysit, but Cadwallader's husband denies those reports. He had no explanation for why his wife was there that fateful day. Another lingering question concerns the typewritten note that a press release claimed was found under the windshield wiper of the Rolls-Royce, contradicting initial reports that there were no notes or messages found. Of course, a typewritten note fits quite well with the claim of a fingerprint-laden typewriter. A typewriter, unfortunately, did not actually exist. The note, however, lives on. It read, in part, Halloween, 1970. Today, World War III will begin, as brought to you by the peoples of the free universe. Amazing. That's what I have tattooed on the inside of my eyelids. Let's see here. Well, we have a page break and then we get right into Ed Kemper and Herb Mullen. Poor Frazier. Do we think he did it, fellas? Do we think Frazier did it? Sandbatch, do you think he did it?
Yeah.
He probably did.
He probably did it. Yeah. I want to hear about Kemper though, because I told you Kemper's the one.
Kemper's still the one.
The one for me. Smile.
Still the one that you dream about.
He was like cruising down the Pacific Coast Highway with like a cut up lady in his back
executing foids, just like you want to, right?
Just like, you know, who doesn't want to execute a foid?
Literally me, for real. You know, the reason why you drive the Pacific Coast Highway with the chopped up foid is that, you know, like they don't age appropriately if you don't turn them enough, and it's a really windy road, so you get the view and it naturally...
Wait, women don't age properly? You got to turn them?
You got to turn them. Yeah. Otherwise they'll get really lumpy on one side.
I try Yorkshire foids. They just bubble up.
The Yorkshire foid. I mean, I'm more of a suppressa kind of foid. You know, I want them to stay a little salty, a little bit of spice in there.
Yeah.
You know, a little fennel, to make it have some aromatics going on. That's how I want my foid. Let's see here. Ed Kemper III, call him Trip, and Herbert Mullen, call him Herbie. Santa Cruz's dueling serial killers. Lived what were in many respects strangely parallel lives. This is going to be like that JFK, Abe Lincoln, born on a, et cetera, all the coincidences. Both were born the sons of World War II heroes. Okay, that's not that unusual for the time. Kemper on December 18th, 1948, and Mullen on April 18th, 1947. Wow. Who would have thought out of 12 months that have approximately 30 days apiece, they would be born on the same instance of that number occurring 12 times in the year, or a different instance of that number occurring 12 times a year. What are the odds? Not that bad. Edmund Emil Kemper Jr. was a special forces operative whose specialty, according to his son, was suicide missions. Apparently he wasn't that fucking good. Martin William Mullen served as a highly decorated captain in the Pacific. According to his son, Martin voluntarily committed himself to a mental hospital at the close of the war. Both of these men like to regale their sons with graphic war stories. Young Herb was taught that violence is natural, and Ed's childhood home was filled with what Margaret Cheney described as mementos of battlefield gore and heroics. Based. Very cool. Very cool. In their youth, both Herb and Ed received training in firearms from the National Rifle Association while at summer camp, a very common thing for the time. Both would later be accused and convicted of killing with the cold precision of a professional assassin. Both were also labeled serial killers, though both were convicted of crimes that evidence suggests they did not commit, at least not alone. Both of their alleged killing sprees began in 1972 in Santa Cruz, California, and both were arrested in early 1973. Following those arrests, the two were assigned adjoining jail cells, appointed the same defense attorney, examined by the same psychiatrist, and their cases were prosecuted by the same district attorney, at least until Chang bowed out of the Mullen case due to a medical emergency. Kemper and Mullen were both found guilty, both determined to be sane, and both were sent to California's Vacaville Medical Facility, which has been well documented as a hotbed of covert intelligence operations. True, going down to Cowtown. Not long before their killing sprees began, both men spent a considerable amount of time in mental institutions, both voluntarily and involuntarily. In the 2 years leading up to the convictions of Kemper and Mullen, at least 74 men, women, and children were killed in the state of California by released mental patients. Rookie numbers. We got those numbers way up. Now. It's way less than, or way more than 74 at this point. Herb Mullen was, by all outward appearances, the quintessential all-American boy. He was a bright student, a talented athlete, and was popular enough to have been voted most likely to succeed by his graduating class at San Lorenzo Valley High School. Just imagine his classmates. Let's see. But he was also known to consume large quantities of hallucinogenic drugs, and he had legalized acid boldly tattooed across his stomach.
I mean, what dude?
Whomst among us does not have legalized acid boldly tattooed across their stomach?
I don't, but that's just because the machine elves warned me against tattoos of any kind. You know what they said?
I don't know what
they said. The machine elves laughed at me when I asked them about getting a tattoo, and they said, and they told me that only someone as stupid as me would dare question the perfection of the Christian God.
Wow. Machine elves,
remarkably based.
Really got you on that one. Whoa. They do be cooking, though. They are demons, but they do be cooking. Let's see. On April 21st, 1968, just 3 days after his 21st birthday, Mullen was arrested for possession of the substance referenced in another of Herb's tattoos, Eagle Eyes marijuana. He cryptically wrote to his parents of that experience. That day, the game started with a capital G-A-M-E. I'm going to say that was in his original thing. He was writing like Thomas 777. For the crime of possessing marijuana, Herb was given probation, and the crime is in scare quotes here. Apparently, McGowan thinks that McGowan says legalize it. Herb was given probation and on Halloween Day committed to San Luis Obispo General Hospital. The personable young man, who was known to have a keen interest in astrology, numerology, reincarnation, magic, and the occult, was institutionalized at least 4 more times over the next few years, including a voluntary commitment to Mendocino State Hospital near Ukiah. On July 30th, 1970, Herb was again arrested on drug charges and ordered into the psychiatric ward of the county hospital. That same year, he met an older woman named Pat Brown at a Santa Cruz commune, and she soon thereafter convinced him to accompany her to Maui. Once there, Herb was once again committed to a mental hospital. I mean, if you're going to be in a mental hospital, you should do it in Hawaii, right? Like,
Yeah.
Free stay in Hawaii. Come on. According to Manson chronicler Ed Sanders, the hospital was run by the U.S. Army. Sanders also claimed in a letter to famed conspiracy researcher Mae Brussel that a mind control project in operation on the Hawaiian Islands at the time was specifically aimed at creating serial killers. While on Maui, Mullen, whose other tattoo read Maha Samadhi, Kriya Yoga, and the word birth with 2 crosses, also spent time at the Krishna Temple, the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, aka the Hare Krishnas. Upon his return to the mainland, he was met at the airport by the son of a prominent local doctor, Richard Koch. Mullen reportedly revealed to him that he had received electroshock treatments while on Maui. I know a guy who got ECT, and apparently it cured his depression. He's still kind of a miserable person, though, to be honest.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have depression, so there is that. On March 28, 1971, Mullen was again arrested, this time for being drunk in public and resisting an officer's advances. He served only 10 days in jail and then in May moved to San Francisco, where he remained for the next 16 months, although later he had only vague memories of that lengthy period. For the most part, he could not account for the entire 1.5-year slice of his life. He lived in the city's Tenderloin district. Of course he fucking did. Where Charlie Manson had taken up residence just a few years earlier.
Big. It's not a big place.
I know.
You can't get anywhere without going to the Tenderloin and taking acid and hanging out with Charlie.
Hanging out with Charles Manson.
You're just not. You just gotta go to the Tenderloin and not drop in and see Charlie.
Are you seriously gonna go to the Tenderloin district in 1971 and not hang out with Charles Manson?
Right. Yeah. It's like, dude, if the time machine to San Francisco in 1971 spat me out on Russian Hill, I would immediately be like, dude, really, bro,
I would immediately go to the free clinic and ask if Jolly was there.
No, Jolly's already gone by then. He's moved on to bigger and better things.
I know.
If you're there earlier, see, like
no. He was involved. He was involved the whole time.
Oh, that's true.
For the free clinic? Yeah, no, it was
only really around in the Summer of Love, though.
Ongoing research work.
Jolly's always the first one to leave the party. He knows when to make an exit.
Since he's dosed everyone, and he doesn't want to get doesn't want to be part of the actual action. Let's see. A few years earlier, Herb stayed in the company of young male hustlers in a series of seedy hotel rooms, and at times in his car. Friends and acquaintances from that period of his life universally described him as a sweet, tender, sensitive, and completely incapable of killing anyone. Strangely, though, he also appears to have been a Golden Gloves boxer during that time. Oh, that's actually super based. Just like a amateur professional boxer, like sleeping in your car and like bumming around San Francisco in 71. I mean, that's sick.
I am gonna have to go take a cold shower. And you know what else I'm thinking about? All the lovely co-eds hitchhiking around town
that you could just cut into tiny pieces and keep in the trunk of your car. You could pack a little. You could. You know what? No one ever talks about making boxing gloves out of a Foyd's back, but you could just imagine how supple. Just imagine how supple it would be, right?
Dude, I watched a movie about Ed Gein recently, and like, you know how it left me feeling numb. I was like, this guy wasn't even interesting. He's a shitty serial killer, and he's like the one that started it all. It's like God.
He was a natural one. Yeah, it was.
It's like if you read all of the Chronicles of Narnia and said this was great, and then went back and read Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe last, and thought, never would have thought somebody would have done that. Never would have thought the second would happen, but I'm glad it did.
You're just okay. I see what you mean. it's not typically the case that the sequels outshine the original, but here
He
we
didn't
are.
even kill many ladies. He killed these old ladies. He supposedly dug them up.
The whole necrophilia thing is just like,
Really? Yeah, like a guy.
oh, God, you're that hard up.
I mean, like neither of us have difficulty getting laid. Well, you might, I don't know. But the
I'm married.
I know, that's why I was like, well, I don't know how that goes. But the
oh yeah, but I'm not boomer married. I'm married.
What was it that you said? Oh yeah, I was in a chat the other day, and you were like, early is the same thing as wrong, and TR Hudson was like quote Cap's wife.
Got him. That's right. Randall Shirker says Sandbatch is once again trying to pay Cap back for DDDing him for months.
No. Cap, you can see Cap is like such a master of DDDing that he didn't actually DDD me. He simply gave me the space to do it to myself.
That's you gotta sell the rope, right?
Yep.
Be the rope salesman. Be the rope salesman at the auto lynching. That's let's see here. Throughout his adult life, Herb complained frequently of voices in his head, haunting his thoughts. He regularly told those around him that he was receiving messages, including commands to kill, that were delivered in his father's voice. Herb would later state, "I feel that I was under my father's control, like a robot." Mullen was also known to tell people that his father, a Mason, was a mass murderer responsible for countless unsolved killings up and down the California coast. During the largely blacked out period that he spent in San Francisco, Herb engaged in what is known as backward writing, a hypnotically conditioned skill that is frequently indicative of mind control programming. Mullen was ultimately diagnosed as suffering from MPD, his multiple personality disorder. His alters were said to include a Mexican laborer, an Eastern philosopher, and bizarrely enough, local columnist and official Anton LaVey publicist Herb Cain. So he's a famous person we previously talked about, is what they're saying. I love the Mexican. I love the Mexican laborer one. Occasionally, he just slips into it when in the middle of a conversation, and all he knows to say is "Okay, sir." "Okay, sir." "Okay, I'll do for you." "Okay, sir." And then he just like cleans your gutters or something. Let's see. Four Clubs says, "I suffer from LMD." Amazing. I'm so proud. I'm so proud. Herb returned from San Francisco to his parents' Santa Cruz home in September 1972 and allegedly began his killing spree just a few weeks later. Just had to get his feet under him, you know. He allegedly purchased a 6-shot 22 revolver from a gun shop on December 22nd, the winter solstice. He'll always point it out. McGowan will always point it out. Around that same time, the former conscientious objector inexplicably decided to enlist in the U.S. Marines. On January 15th, he passed both the physical and mental entrance exams. Okay. A rather remarkable feat considering that at the time he was just a few weeks away from being arrested and charged as a serial killer. He also had a criminal record, which his recruiter opted to waive. Of course he did. I honestly don't understand why that's like we should have penal legions, right? Like it's fine. It's fine. Oh, you were convicted of murder? Great. That's the job. Parker Longbaugh says, "Call me Juan Confucius." Yes. Thank you for the $5 super. Penile legions. Yeah, we need legions of dick. Actually, if you're gay, you should be conscripted. That's the rule. Only gays in the military. and expansionist Forever Wars. That's the deal I'm willing to make with the neocons.
Okay, I got a number in the chat. Everybody in the chat. How many different artificial intelligence agent instances do I have
running right now?
Totally not picking cotton on the farm right now. We need numbers in the chat.
I will. Can I participate?
Oh yeah, you can do it. You can do whatever you want. You could have just said it out loud.
Well, I'm putting it in the chat so that it's there.
Tookie and Cap said the same thing.
Oh, that's me at the same time.
Okay.
If I type it into StreamYards, it just does that.
Johnson 30.6. Clever.
Hold on.
Clever.
Nice. By the way, we're gonna say Price is Right rules. So closest without going over is correct.
The answer is 110.
I went over. Damn.
Yeah, that would break my computer, I think.
Well, I didn't know you could have bought, server time or something like that.
I mean, that's that when you expand horizontally like that, it gets quite expensive.
So let's see who won. Parker Longbaugh won.
Parker Longbaugh, you win. And you can sneed us a super chat.
It was he already did.
Yeah.
He it was a gentleman's wager, so you win the gentleman. That's right. Unfortunately, we don't have any here, so I will get you an IOU. Let's see. Pac-Man Respecter says slept with this Zoomer girl that makes Hitler Instagram edits, walked away with an LMD infection. Yes. Sandbatch has been kicked out of 110 agents. Speaking of, I went and saw Marty Supreme with my wife the other day. Have you heard of that movie?
Dude, I'm so out of it. People are always asking me, dude, you see the news today? And I'm like, and it used to not really be true that I was like totally out of it, but I'm like I just have AI psychosis. That's all I do. I like to sit in like whenever I'm at home, like when normal people are watching television, I'm like trying to figure out how to use a massive swarm of AI agents to like enact permanent revolution.
Okay. Well, I went to see a movie with my wife.
Yeah, but see, I wish I had a wife, man.
Well, you should visit sometime, and you can go see a movie with me and my wife.
You should visit sometime, and you can borrow mine.
You can borrow mine. Take my wife, please. It was Marty Supreme was the most so it's the same director who did Uncut Gems, and it stars Timothy Chalamet playing.
No, I have seen this. So was it good?
Playing Marty Reisman.
Has Timothy blown it?
It's actually the best acting I've seen him do.
Everybody was mad at him because he was like pointing out that he's like, I'm pretty good at this. I do good work. And I'm like, everyone's mad at him about that. And I'm like, dude, he does. He's pretty good at it. I mean, if he's he's in a lot of he's in a lot of movies that give him shitty roles and don't ask a lot of him. I haven't seen the Bob Dylan movie. I haven't seen that either. I didn't go watch that one.
But he did good work in this one, and also it's the most unintentionally anti-Semitic movie I have ever seen in my life. But I haven't seen Uncut Gems. So
I say that, but when the Jews are like a secret anti-Semitism, I'm like, maybe they were right.
Well, I mean, the people who made this are big Jews. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen a picture of Josh Safdie, but like he's basically a Happy Merchant caricature. Actually, you know what? He looks a lot like Perry Abbasi. It's like alarmingly like Perry Abbasi. I'm gonna give you here. Look, this is the director. Come on, you see it?
Yeah, totally there.
Yeah. Anyway, The main character spends the entire time being incredibly money hungry and untrustworthy. It's awesome. It's great. It's a good movie. Definitely a C. Definitely one not to miss. Anyway, thank you, Johnson 30/6 for sending me this, sending me down that particular rabbit hole. Okay. Santa Cruz home waived the. All right. Herb's arrest preempted his military plans. Once in custody, he was interrogated by police, throughout which he robotically chanted the single word, silence, to virtually all questions posed to him, as if repeating an instruction that had been programmed into his brain. He later claimed that once incarcerated, he began receiving telepathic messages instructing him to kill himself, but he was able to resist acting on those orders. Had Mullen elected to commit suicide, the state surely would have breathed a sigh of relief. After all, they would have been spared the burden of staging a blatantly fraudulent trial. More even-handed coverage from McGowan. From the moment of Herb's arrest, there were clear indications that he was being railroaded by the very same team as noted previously that sent John Frazier to death row. There were also clear signs from early on that Mullen may not have been responsible for many of the crimes for which he was charged, most of which looked for all the world like contract hits. The killing of Father Tomei, for example, was very likely a professional hit. Tomei, who was raised in an orphanage during World War I, was internationally known both as a hero of the French resistance during World War II and for having organized a chorus for troubled youth made up primarily of boys from abusive homes. This chorus toured internationally, which, though it is merely speculation, would have provided an ideal front for an underage male prostitution racket. Someone who was raised in an orphanage during World War I and operated in the French resistance for World War II is definitely the kind of person who I would suspect of running an international male prostitution racket. And I leave it to you to figure out if I am being ironic or not. An eyewitness to the slaying of Tomei described his assailant as young, white, 6 feet tall, and wearing a black leather jacket. He had a push broom mustache and a big bulge in his pants. It was Tom of Finland. Although he certainly could have borrowed the jacket, the 5-inch height discrepancy is a little harder to explain. Mullen did have a connection to Tomei. Herb's second cousin, Monsignor Edwin Kennedy, was a close friend of the slain priest. Mullen may or may not have been responsible for the nearly simultaneous mass murders at the homes of Jim Gianera and Bob Francis. One witness described the possible assailant as being short and of medium build, which accurately describes Herb. But the witness also stated that he thought the man was Mexican, which Mullen definitely was not. Although, as previously mentioned, one of his alter egos was. He thought he was Mexican because he was wearing a sombrero and kept saying, "Okay, sir. Okay, sir," as he killed everyone at the party. One thing that is known for sure is that Herb knew the victims quite well, which illustrates yet another flaw in the public's perception of the nature of serial crime. In fact, a number of killers profiled herein knew at least some of their victims, and sometimes knew them quite well. Another thing that is quite clear is that Gianera and Francis families were not randomly selected victims. Rather, they were almost certainly the targets of professional hits. Both Francis and Gianera were known drug dealers, as were Gianera's two brothers. And word on the street at the time of the killings was that Jim and Bob were snitches. It is therefore extremely unlikely the simultaneous assaults on their two homes were random acts of violence. Bob Francis was not at home at the time of the killings, but his wife and two young sons were summarily and quite professionally executed with a 22 round to the head. One of those sons, Herb's youngest alleged victim at just 4 years old, was named Damon, which is a nice name to give to your kid if your name happens to be, say, Lucifer. Amazing. I mean, Damon is not that weird of a name. I don't know. At the Giannera home, both Jim and his wife Joan. Sandbatch talk. I got a cough.
Yo, Sandbatch talking. You're gonna cough. What are you doing? Yeah. No. Yeah. Jeez, it takes you a long time to cough.
Just mutter. That's what you need to do.
It's all I know how to do. Like literally, I've been doing this for so long, but I am remarkably bad at dead air. You know?
Yeah, you're pretty bad at it.
Every time there's dead air, I just go back to that time in the cabin in the woods when my father,
taught me how to be a man's man.
Yeah.
I could teach you if you like. No thanks. No thanks. Appreciate the offer. Yeah, gross. Let's see here. Sorry. Yeah. Some water went down the wrong tube. Sex Freakman. Hideo Kojima wrote this shit. Yeah, no shit. No kidding. All right. Both Jim and his wife Joan were killed with multiple gunshot and stab wounds. Strangely, both Jim and Joan's families arrived at the crime scene before the police were notified. The house looked as though it had been thoroughly searched, though whether by the killers or by the victims' families is unclear. Police later found 2.22 casings in Bob Francis's car, though that is obviously far from being conclusive evidence of guilt. Another mass murder attributed to Mullen, the slaughter of 4 teenage campers, appeared to have been the work of multiple perpetrators, unless that is, one chooses to believe that one man wielding a 6-shot revolver can overpower 4 healthy young men armed with a rifle. This crime also looked very much like a professional job. All 4 victims were coldly and methodically dispatched with a single small caliber shot to the head from point blank range. Evidence at the scene suggested that there had definitely been a struggle, yet the boy's loaded and unfired rifle was found still lying within easy reach of where the teens' bodies lay dead. The final murder attributed to Herb was the sniper shooting of a retired boxer who was felled from a single shot to the chest from 100 feet away. Not really a sniper shot. 100 feet's pretty fucking close. In what appeared to be yet another professional hit. 100 feet is like doable with a bow. Like
remarkably not doable with a pistol, but possibly doable with a bow. Yeah,
you could do 100 feet with a pistol. You could do 100 feet with a pistol.
It's like it gets dicey.
I mean, maybe not a little. You
can hit somebody with a pistol 100 feet, no problem. But like if you're shooting at somebody without, you really do 20 feet.
Sure. If you're,
I don't want to be further than 20 feet with a pistol.
Yeah, no one's like assassinating someone with just a pistol from anything other than point blank range.
Yeah,
not with a single shot, right?
Damn.
Just days later, prosecutor Chang filed 6 murder counts against Mullen, even though 3 witnesses were unable to pick him out of a police lineup. 8 days later, 4 more murder counts were added, and a sweeping gag order was issued barring any public statements on the case from anyone involved. On March 1st, Mullen appeared to be before a judge accompanied by Attorney Jackson and shocked the courtroom by entering a nolo contendere plea and a request to represent himself. When the judge rejected both the plea and the request, Herb immediately offered up a guilty plea. The judge, however, insisted on going through with the mockery of a trial. Dispensing with a preliminary hearing, the case was instead sent to a grand jury, which issued indictments on all 10 murder counts on March 14th. The transcript of those proceedings, naturally enough, was sealed by the judge. Mullen's defense counsel, Jackson, got things rolling by introducing a number of pretrial motions that rather shamelessly sold his client out. Jackson told the court that there was no reason to change the venue of the trial, despite a massive amount of pretrial publicity demonizing Mullen, and despite the unprecedented climate of fear in Santa Cruz engendered by the alleged actions of Kemper, Frazier, Mullen et al. He also made an unprecedented request that jury questioning, known as voir dire, be conducted in the judge's chambers. The request was granted, and the jury was, without precedent, selected away from the eyes of the press and public. It is very strange. As California law requires that a defendant pleading not guilty by reason of insanity also maintain their factual innocence, 2 trials are generally required to dispose of such a case. One to determine factual guilt, and the second to determine sanity, and therefore legal guilt. In a most remarkable move, however, Jackson agreed with the prosecutor and the judge that the 2 should be combined into one, since it was universally claimed that there was no question about factual guilt. The trial, in other words, began with the presumption of guilt as its starting point, completely doing away with the notion that in the American criminal justice system, all defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. I'm pretty sure that if you enter a guilty plea, you just don't have a trial. They don't then have to do a trial. Like, okay. When the trial began on July 30th, 1973, the judge opened the proceedings by explaining to the secretly selected jurors that the 5 possible verdicts they were to consider: guilty of first-degree murder, guilty of second-degree murder, guilty of voluntary manslaughter, guilty of involuntary manslaughter, or not guilty by reason of insanity. Notably absent from that list from the very beginning of the trial was not guilty. Not to be outdone, defense counsel Jackson began his opening statement by declaring Friday the 13th, October 1972, Herbert William Mullen took a baseball bat and clubbed one Lawrence White to death. Not only had he declared his client guilty of murder, he had implicated him in a crime he had never even been charged with. Amazing. Your Honor, I move to be disbarred for introducing this evidence against my own client. We are back to space hyper chicken territory. Yes. Jackson's opening act also included this little gem. We do not, as you know, intend to argue the proposition that Herb did not commit these killings. He did not, in other words, intend to actually defend his client. This is great attorney. I mean, amazing. Just excellent. With Mullen's guilt having been predetermined, albeit with no actual physical evidence to support that conclusion, the state presented its case in just 4 days, with the facts established rather perfunctorily and without a hint of any objections from the defense table. The defense team, in fact, did not bother to challenge any of the supposed facts of the case, which would not have withstood any sort of scrutiny. Truth be told, the state need not have presented a case at all. The defense did a fine job of establishing Mullen's guilt. Playing a central role in that charade was Dr. Donald Lund, who took the stand and proceeded to reveal what was purportedly Herb's own account of the murders, which the doctor claimed that Mullen had confessed to both he and Cartwright. Not long into this testimony, Herb objected and requested that Jackson promptly terminate his questioning of Lund, which was obviously eliciting testimony that was damaging to Herb's case. Mullen noted of Lund's testimony, different aspects and different factors of the story which I related are being portrayed in a completely false as to how I made them. He also informed the judge that in conference, they, Lund and Jackson, explained that they would portray the reasons for my derangement. The judge, needless to say, declined to halt Lund's testimony, which was essential for establishing Mullen's alleged guilt, which is why I suppose the testimony was being solicited by the defense team. Herb voiced numerous other complaints during the trial and frequently questioned the competence and integrity of his appointed defenders, noting at one point the fact that Jackson, his lead attorney, refused to communicate with him in writing. Herb also strenuously objected to the misuse by Lund of videotapes that the doctor had made of Herb's supposed confessions. Mullen even went so far as to state, rather bluntly, that he was the victim of a huge conspiracy. Despite his deep mistrust of Lund, the doctor was nevertheless able to convince Mullen to take the stand in his own defense, which any first-year law student knows almost never benefits anyone other than the prosecution. While on the stand, Herb was asked directly by Jackson to explain why he had killed 13 people, to which he responded, "All right, first of all, you have heard me say before that I am a scapegoat, sort of an outcast who has been made to become a scapegoat." That was not, in fact, it seems safe to say, the response Jackson had hoped to elicit. On August 19th, 1973, the jury returned with guilty verdicts on all 10 murder counts. The failure of the pitiful attempt at an insanity defense was due in no small part to a statement from Lund that the jury is a practical matter. Whether somebody is dangerous or not, there is no place to put him. So true, actually.
Tell I feel all the time. There's no
What?
place to put. There's no place to put me.
There's no place to put him. Where are we gonna put him?
I'm always on my own. How does it feel to be without a home?
How does it feel? Goddamn.
Checking in on the chat.
What?
100 feet is what in meters? 20 meters. 6 million. Tee.
6 million. Tee.
Chat's kind of dead tonight.
Yes. Well, you know. Huh? Randall Sugar, huh? Yeah. On August, the message was quite clear. Finding Mullen to be insane would essentially mean setting him free. The jury had essentially been instructed to find Herb guilty, and it did just that. He was sentenced to life in prison and promptly shipped off to Cowtown before ultimately landing in San Quentin. Over the years, he was periodically shipped back to Cowtown, perhaps in need of a tune-up. To fully understand the depths of Lund's cravenness, one need look no further than the doctor's own words, written in his self-serving book on the case. I had learned years earlier that the best course after a psychiatric interview of a criminal defendant is for me to return to my office, immediately dictate a summary of my notes, and destroy the originals. That is, needless to say, a course of action to be taken only when one feels the need to cover something up, and a course of action that should have disqualified Lund as a credible witness in the case. The final words on the Mullen case were written by Kenneth Springer, the jury foreman who wrote to the then governor of California, Ronald Reagan, "I hold the state executive and state legislative offices as responsible for these 10 lives as I do the defendant himself. None of this need ever have happened." Springer probably had no idea how true those words really were, nor did he likely know that the very same words could be as accurately applied to the case of Edmund Kemper.
Here we go.
Yep. So,
do you know anything about this guy?
Ed Kemper?
Yeah.
A little bit. I'm embarrassed to say that my most vivid knowledge of him comes from Mindhunter, which I recognize as not a documentary.
I think he consulted on the making of it, though.
Did he?
Yeah.
I mean, he's still around, right?
Yeah. We're about to learn about him. Just sit back and enjoy.
Let's see how Ed Kemper's doing. Let's see how he's doing. He's 77 years old. He's 77. He's a big guy. He's a tall guy.
He's huge. He's not doing well though.
Massive man. Yeah, he was good. He was good in Mindhunter. Actually, that show fucking sucked, but the interviews with the episodes with Ed Kemper were really good. Who was that guy who played him in that? Hold on one sec. I'm gonna look it up. Mindhunter. Ed Kemper, Mindhunter. Memtalk, the Mind Taker. Cameron Britton. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, good for him. He's probably a shitlib, but you know. Let's see here. All right. When Ed Kemper was just a toddler, his father headed off for the Pacific, where he spent 2 years working on the U.S. atomic bomb testing program, as did the father of the so-called Sunset Strip killer. But we'll get to that later. Though it appears that efforts have been made to whitewash Kemper's childhood, there are clear indications that it was a horrifyingly abusive one. At one point in his life, Ed was made to live in a dank, dark basement for 8 consecutive months. Sounds like London.
Yeah, sounds like a normal day in the UK.
Normal day in the United Kingdom. He was forced to live in a London flat, the only access to which was through a trapdoor hidden beneath a kitchen table. Honestly, awesome goon cave. Good for him. From the age of 8, Ed engaged in an incestuous relationship with an older sister. You have any idea how many of my anime profile pictured Twitter mutuals are like, One-san? At 10, he killed and beheaded his first cat, planted the severed head on a spindle, and thereafter prayed over it. According to chronicler Margaret Cheney, he was prone to zombie-like fits of staring, which is another way of saying that he had a strong tendency to dissociate. At the tender age of 15, Kemper summarily executed both of his grandparents with single 22 caliber rounds to the back of their heads. I almost read that as a single 22 caliber round. Like he just like lined them up real good. He was judged insane and on December 6, 1964, was remanded by the California Youth Authority to Atascadero State Hospital, an enormous facility filled with convicted rapists, child molesters, and other violent sex offenders. Kemper remained at Atascadero for 5 years. On staff there, near the end of his confinement, was none other than Dr. Donald Lund. It is indeed a small world. Well, again, who's doing this stuff in this area, right? Remanded back to the CYA as cured, Kemper was paroled 3 months later to his mother's care. Not long after, Ed began work on a particularly brutal string of murders, while at the very same time he successfully petitioned to have his juvenile record sealed. In pursuit of that latter goal, he reportedly once drove to Fresno for a required psychiatric exam with a freshly severed head in the trunk of his car. You got to do your like pregame ritual. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta, you gotta get your game face on. You know, yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Garrett in the chat says, how do we verify any of these claims about serial killer childhoods? How much of it is just them bullshitting journos? Yeah, totally valid question. Some of it is, like, for example, obviously he's not a serial killer, but people like Timothy McVeigh have sort of magisterial works written about them. I haven't read anything specifically about Kemper, any full scale work on him, which I'm sure does exist. But it is possible to research these things. It gets easier. I mean, it does get easier as time goes on. Let's see. Sex Frequent says these violent sex offenders give the regular ones a bad name. Yeah, right. The romantic sex offenders. That's what we've got here. Vulpes persona. The hypocrisy is the worst part. The hypocrisy. Shameful. Kemper spent a considerable amount of his free time hanging out at a bar called the Jury Room, which served as a watering hole for local cops, sheriffs, and prosecuting attorneys. Kemper was quite well known there, where he was affectionately known as Big Ed. Even by then, the regulars who were aware of his colorful history. This theme of alleged serial killers maintaining close ties with various law enforcement agencies and personnel is one that will be revisited frequently in this book. In fact, many of the men profiled herein, including Ed Kemper, aspired to careers in law enforcement themselves. By April 1973, Kemper had been charged with savagely murdering 6 female hitchhikers between May 1972 and February 1973. He followed those killings up with his swan song, bludgeoning his own mother to death, beheading her, raping her headless corpse, and then, according to some reports, using her severed head as a dartboard. Terrible dartboard.
I think when when he got bored, he buried the head upside. He buried the head facing her fucking window of the. Dude, the relationship with his mother was so fucked that, like, I mean, it was like he would like try to leave and like go like start a new life, and she would like track him down. It was just genuinely just. I've read a lot of situations where there's like disturbing aspects to especially mother-son relationships. But
Ed Kemper's the one that Norman Bates is supposedly based on, right?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I thought he was.
You're telling me that you're actually telling me that for the first time. No, it's Lecter.
The timing's wrong.
It's Lecter.
Lecter was it? No, he wasn't.
Lecter's a combination of a lot of them, but like if you notice that like all these serial killers we talk about, they tend to not have very high IQs. Ed Kemper is the high IQ one.
Okay, fair enough.
Measured above 140, and like he's the one that like he'll play this game with because the FBI love to talk to him. First of all, because like so you don't get a chance to talk to gigantic 140 IQ serial killers very often. But he was also like, I mean, because
it's novel because he's just bigger. He's a big guy. He's like 6'9". He's like fucking enormous.
Yeah. But he would also like after he killed his mother, he's like, I'm done, and like he like went and turned himself in. That's not something serial killers do very often. So like he's like for the longest time he was considered to be like one, and he probably was one of the best sources on the way serial killers go about doing things because he was entirely. I mean, he's pretty repentant. I guess he's somewhat repentant, but he's like more like, yeah, you all need to figure this out. So he's like very willing to talk about the process.
You got to keep me in here because otherwise,
yeah, he did. He did say that. He came up for parole one time, and then they asked him if society's ready. They're like, he was like already old. Like he was like, this is the most recent time, like heart failure. He's like, society's totally not ready for me, man.
Yeah.
Which I think is a little dark, but.
Oh, I think I'll write him a little letter. I'll write him a little letter. See how he's doing.
Little letter poo.
Yeah, I'll send him a little heart emoji.
Send him a little snack for Valentine's Day.
I'll send him a severed head. Hey, you know who he didn't kill? That sister. What he banged. Who's the idiot now? Who's the idiot now? That's right. Yeah. You're right. I was just confused. You're definitely right that the timing does not work out for Ed Kemper being Norman Bates. Yeah. Let's see. Although depending on where, okay, so Gary, you brought it up, right? So you brought it up. Definitely possible that was something that Kemper made up. It actually might be the exact opposite. If this is just some of Kemper's hearsay, right, to fuck with journalists, it's totally possible that he made it up based on Norman Bates. So,
based.
Yeah.
Based on Norman Bates.
Sex Freakman says, it takes a lot of effort for me not to say literally me in this episode. And then he says, oh, wait, I was typing that before you mentioned the incest. You were not. I know you weren't. So let's see. Jury room, etc. All right. On April 73, Kemper had been charged with savagely murdering 6 female hitchhikers between May 1972 and February 1973.
We've done this so many times now.
Yada.
You're totally bored with the
yada.
You've heard of a list of ships. This is our list of dead ladies. We just run right through it now.
List of dead co-eds. Yeah. Let's see. Honestly, if you're a serial killer and you're getting like letters from random women, are you allowed to have conjugals with them? Like, no. Can you just plow the?
Well, it's on a case by case basis.
Huh.
They usually don't like women very much, though.
I mean, can we blame him, fellas? Manson got married when he was very old. He got married again. He got married to some chick.
But he also wasn't a serial killer.
Well, sure.
He just got really high one night and sent all his bunnies to go do a murder.
Fair enough. His whole thing was being incredibly charming. So,
I don't see it, but
you don't see it. You don't see it because you can't recognize yourself in a mirror.
It's so true.
You are actually if we're working on archetypes here, I am more of the Jolly West archetype. You are more of the Manson archetype.
It's interesting.
You are a hippie. You are like
Jolly was a hippie too, though.
He was not a hippie.
Yeah, maybe.
He was not a hippie. Hippies were inventory.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a little countercultural. He's groovy, you know.
He was interested in the things, but didn't have any of the affect.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he is, to me, his mind, his concept, and his like day-to-day experience is like very much embedded in the philosophy of the 1960s. Now, whereas where most people, they like drop acid and get in the fucking bus, he dropped acid and drove the bus, you know.
Right. He chartered the bus, and I took notes. Right. All right. Let's see. Raping her headless corpse, according to some reports, using her severed head as a dartboard. Ed then called to invite his mother's friends over to her house that he shared with his mom, and upon arrival, quickly dealt with her in a similar manner. This double murder occurred, strangely enough, on April 21st, just one day after Hitler's birthday. 1973, exactly 5 years to the day from the date on which Herb Mullen had noted that the game had begun. Kemper quickly fled the scene, ending up in Pueblo, Colorado, after making a soup at the University of Nevada campus for reasons unknown. Oh, a stop. I don't know why I said soup. He made a stop at the campus. Soup. He made some soup at the campus. He made a stop at the campus. He was probably, maybe he was just looking for another co-ed, just to, get one in, one for the road, right? On April 23rd, Big Ed called some of his drinking buddies at the Santa Cruz Police Department and promptly began confessing his crimes. Pueblo police arrested him as he stood at a public payphone talking to the Santa Cruz officers. In his nearby car were 3 guns and 200 rounds of ammunition. He had apparently left some of his arsenal at home. His sister claimed that Ed owned at least 6 guns, including a .22 Ruger pistol, which is the one that he allegedly used to inflict the fatal head wounds that killed many of his victims. Why Ed chose to turn himself in and give up without a fight after making his roundabout escape equipped with a mini arsenal remains a mystery. Though there is no question that Kemper was involved in the killings, he did, after all, document his handy work with Polaroids, there is evidence to suggest that others may have been involved as well. An eyewitness to the abduction of one victim, for instance, described a fairly tall male Caucasian driving a cream or tan-colored sedan. Kemper's car was bright yellow, and he was hardly what would be considered fairly tall. Kemper was, in fact, known as Big Ed for a good reason. He was a giant of a man, standing 6'9" and weighing 280 pounds. It would have been nearly impossible for any potential eyewitness not to notice his imposing stature. I bet this witness was a 5'6" guy who was just like, yeah, he was kind of tall. he was kind of tall. I'm almost as tall as he was. I'm like right there. Like, if we were standing next to each other, you would think, wow, those are 2 tall guys. That's how it went down. One particularly bizarre aspect of the crime attributed to Ed Kemper and Herb Mullen is that the body of one of Ed's alleged victims and the body of one of Herb's alleged victims were found buried in virtually the same isolated remote location. As Kemper himself noted, the body of his victim was discovered amazingly close to where the girl from Cabrillo was found up there, stabbed. Kemper's trial was a largely pointless affair that featured the very same cast of characters that had starred in the Fraser and Mullen trials. No one in the courtroom ever questioned whether Ed was factually guilty of the crimes or whether he had acted alone. After all, he had given what Cheney described as one of the most detailed, articulate, and chilling confessions of sadism, murder, mutilation, cannibalism, and necrophilia in the annals of crime. He had also taken the time to document his barbarity with a large collection of snuff photos. What the confessions and photos revealed was a series of unbelievably sadistic crimes that were laced with occult symbolism. He had led some avenues of the media to theorize prior to Ed's arrest the yet-to-be-identified killer was a member of a devil-worshipping cult. Just as Mullen had unwisely chosen to take the stand in his own defense, so too did Kemper. He testified that the killings arose from fantasies that began to build in his head during his confinement at Atascadero. Attorney Jackson elaborated, adding that Ed had told California Youth Authority officials of evil forces within him which tried to control his behavior. Incidentally, John Fraser, like Kemper, had spent time with the CYA. He also claimed, like Mullen, to hear voices in his head. The phenomenon of hearing voices, though considered by psychiatrists to be auditory hallucinations indicative of delusional thought processes, is actually a quite logical manifestation of both multiple personality disorder and mind control programming, the two frequently going hand in hand. Many researchers have put forth the idea that the hearing of such voices, and particularly the receiving of specific commands, is a result of various high-tech forms of electromagnetic mind control, such as intercerebral implants. However, while such technology no doubt exists, it is really not necessary to explain the phenomenon of hearing voices, a phenomenon that long predates the development of any technological means to produce it. Went through a lot of those in Aberration in the Heartland of the Real.
Yeah.
But there was also, obviously, I don't know. There's also the what if the voices are real, right? Possibility. There's a great book by Jerry Marzinski about basically talking to the voices as a psychiatrist. It's very poorly sourced. I'm going to be talking about that on Book Club from Hell pretty soon.
Nice.
So yeah, actually, an episode just came out today on Book Club from Hell with me talking about L.A. Vaught's.
He was on another show and didn't tell me.
Reader. Sorry, bud. But actually, we recorded this like 2 months ago. It takes forever for one of those episodes to come out. So,
dude, I don't know.
Anyway, it's all about physiognomy. It's all about physiognomy and phrenology. So look that up. Book Club from Hell. Okay, so you'll learn about esoteric Vaughatism. Let's see. Large collection of snuff photos. Oh, yeah. In all probability, what the voices represent are the various alter personalities of a person with a severe dissociative disorder communicating with that person's core personality, which has no conscious awareness of the alters and so experiences their voices as disembodied voices in the head. So if one of your imagine how fucking annoying it would be if one of the voices in your head was a Mexican day laborer. Like, so you just have a voice in your head and it's just like speaking, but you don't speak Spanish, so the fucking voice doesn't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
So it's just like Spanglish bullshit with like an incredibly limited vocabulary. It's just like enchilada, enchilada, Chipotle Supreme, Chile Relleno. It's just like it's just listing items off of a menu that you read one time. Yeah, I don't know. The voices, in other words, are essentially a one-way internal conversation between different personalities inhabiting the same body. In a sense, then, the voice was not delusion at all. And it's just, and occasionally it's just like, you should fucking kill yourself. You should kill yourself, man. Not a delusion at all for the afflicted person, not imagining that someone is talking to him. Somebody is talking to him. The problem is that the person is unaware that the person talking to him is actually within him. He is, in a very real sense, talking to himself. Ed Kemper was probably familiar with the notion of voices in the head. As he once said, I believe that there are two people inside me. He was getting spit roasted. He also described experiencing a dissociative state while going about his grisly work. It's almost like blacking out. You know that you're doing, but you don't notice anything else around. Ed was judged sane and guilty of 8 counts of first-degree murder, giving him a career total of 10 homicide convictions. Just like Herb Mullen, he was sentenced to life in prison and sent to Cowtown, then later transferred to Folsom Prison. Classic.
I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on.
Yep. Let's see. Shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Actually,
have you ever tracked the locations? You ever track the locations mentioned there? It becomes very clear there had to be more than one train involved.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, there's like shot a man in Reno. There's a train in San Antonio. Like, We're all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, but you could probably, but there are probably just trains in all of those. I don't think that he's traveling. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a drifter. We're always drifting.
Yeah.
Drifting and dreaming, said Bobby Weir.
R.I.P.
Rip.
It seems somehow redundant to review the case of the so-called Vampire of Sacramento, Richard Chase, given that his story closely parallels that of Herb Mullen. Nevertheless, a brief review is in order. We shouldn't do this, but we're going to as a treat, is what he's saying. Chase was born into a household where interfamilial violence was the order of the day. His parents reportedly fought constantly, and his father was euphemistically described as a strict disciplinarian. His parents are constantly fighting. You think his mom would learn she didn't have a fucking chance? Am I right? Am I right, fellas? Am I right? You know, I mean, unless his dad was a real pussy, who knows? By the age of 18, Richard was receiving regular psychiatric care. In the late 1960s, Chase was twice arrested for possession of marijuana, the same charge that first brought Mullen into the orbit of the criminal justice system. Richard was also a suspect in a 1968 shooting, although he was never charged with the crime. In 1973, he was arrested for carrying a concealed weapon, and on December 1st, he was admitted to the American River Hospital by order of the court. Was discharged not long after into the care of his mother. As Herb had done with his father, Richard took to accusing his mother of controlling his mind. Chase also began claiming in the mid-70s that he was receiving telepathic messages. He was known to hold conversations with people nobody else could see. And like Mullen, Chase reportedly had a healthy appetite for hallucinogenic drugs. His mother later claimed that
how much is that? What is that? Okay, I'm sorry, Dave.
A healthy
appetite for hallucinogenic drugs.
His mother later claimed that her son's problems were due to him being the victim of LSD abuse.
Get
a healthy appetite is
fuck you, bitch.
Fuck you, bitch.
I'm sorry.
I'm not the victim of LSD abuse. I'm the abuser. I'm the LSD abuser.
Man, that LSD didn't do nothing to me, man. I just fucking hit her.
Son of Haster sends $5. This is my favorite show to listen to while driving home from jiu-jitsu. Just picked up the book 1966.
Whoa. What'd you say about the Jews?
It's called I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Krav Maga. I have not heard of the book 1966. Is that Gloria Naylor? Because that's what I got when I Googled it. So, yeah, let's see. A fictionalized memoir of the award-winning author tells the story of a massive covert surveillance operation perpetrated against her by an official of the U.S. government.
Dude.
Yep.
Aberration in the Heartland of the Meal really got me. That was a good one, Sex Friedman.
Literally 1966. Or 1996, sorry. I said 1966. 1996. It has a very 1996 cover. Hold on. Let me show you this. Open image. Look at this thing. Is this the most 1996 cover you've ever seen in your life?
Yeah, that's it.
Look at it. Yeah, it's an alt rock album cover. It's like, now that's what I call music.
Now that's what I call a dead co-ed.
Now that's what I call dead. That's what I call dead hookers.
Sorry about that, chat. God.
Yeah. Wow. Jeez. Wacka. Okay. Let's see. Age of 18. Oh, yeah. Wanderer says, have you been watching Interesting Books Reviewed? I think is the actual the name of the channel you're referencing. Interesting Books Reviewed is a very cool YouTube channel you should all check out. Yeah. Our guy, totally very normal fellow, reviewing books, similar to ours in many cases. Let's see here. Admitted to the all right. Richard was again arrested in 1976 and on April 28th, just 8 days after Hitler's birthday, just 2 days shy of Walpurgisnacht, was again admitted to American River Hospital. In June of that same year, his mother was granted a 1-year conservatorship of the troubled young man. He was then transferred to Beverly Manor, where he became known to the staff and fellow inmates as Dracula. In September 1976, he was released. In June or July of the following year, Richard Chase made a very odd solo journey to Washington, D.C. for reasons unknown. Why would anyone go to the District of Columbia? He never explained to anyone before or after the trip the reason for his abrupt and unexpected sojourn. Immediately after that, on August 3rd, 1977, Chase was arrested at California's Pyramid Lake. 2 loaded and blood-stained rifles were on the seat of his truck. Why would the rifle be blood-stained? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, some of you run out of bullets.
You gotta just beat him to death with it. Yeah, that's not it at all. Along with Richard's blood-stained clothes and shoes. Also in the vehicle was a large bucket of blood, in which was floating a fresh liver. Claimed to be from a cow.
It's really not looking good here.
It's not looking good for him. Chase, naked, dripping with fresh blood, and with dried blood caked in his hair, whiskers, and ears. He just means his facial hair. Weird to say whisk. Am I the crazy one that it's weird to use the word whiskers here?
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
It's kind of like describing him as a cat. Fled from the officers upon their approach. He was apprehended, arrested, and charged with federal gun law violations. That's all they could get him on. In a rather unlikely turn of events, all charges were subsequently dropped. You'd be completely covered with blood, but if they can't say that you obtained it illegally, then it's not actually a crime. Let's see. Hold on. Johnson 30-6. 1996 is written by a woman who had been an Oprah Book Club author, then disappeared, then wrote a book about getting gang stalked at MKUltra in 1996. Based. Okay, great.
There's something wild. It has been more years between 1989 and 1996 than it has been since it's fewer years between 1989 and 1996 than it has been since Taylor Swift released 1989.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought of that. It's the 1989 shit, I don't know. Keep going.
Time flows ceaselessly. And if I think about it too much, it makes me sad. So let's see.
Hanging on in quiet desperation is the English way.
Less than 5 months later, Chase's alleged killing spree began just after he purchased a .22 semi-automatic handgun in early December 1977, just as Mullen had done in December 1972. On December 29th, an engineer with the Federal Bureau of Land Management, BLM, was picked off by a sniper in a car wielding a .22 caliber weapon, precisely mirroring one of the crimes attributed to Herb Mullen. Quite a month after that, Teresa Wallen was killed with 2 contact wounds to the head from a .22. One pumped into her left temple. The slugs recovered from her head were said to be similar to the one that killed engineer.
You talk about word choice. The choice of pumped there really
pumped it in there.
Yeah.
Really pumped that. Really mit der pump gun.
Meet their pump gun.
Meet der pump gun. Not quite a month after that. Let's see. The slugs recovered from her head were said to be similar to the one that killed engineer Ambrose Griffin, which is not saying much since any .22 slug would be similar to the one that killed Griffin. True. Yes. Teresa Wallen was carved up and left on display. She was ripped open from her neck to her groin with her sternum and breastplate split open. Is that not the same thing? Not just redundant?
No, sternum goes one way, breastplate. It looks like the butterfly's body.
No, it doesn't. That is the stuff.
Yeah, sternum is just it's the middle of the breastplate. What? So I guess, ontologically, yeah, Sternum inherits from breastplate.
Some of her organs were removed and her left nipple was sliced off. Classic to go asymmetrical.
That's always the one you want to cut off. The right
always
one
going asymmetrical with it. Yeah. She was then posed in the master bedroom on her back with her splayed legs facing the hallway. Her corpse was found to contain a 3-month-old fetus. Just 4 days later, in a scene reminiscent of the Oda house after John Fraser's alleged visit, or the Francis home after Herb Mullins' alleged visit, Evelyn Marath was found dead in her home, the victim of a .22 round fired above her left ear at very close range. A man described as a friend, Danny Meredith, caught 2 slugs to the head, one between the eyes and another next to his left ear. Young Jason Marath, Evelyn's son, was shot above the left ear and in the back of the head. Missing from the home was 22-month-old David Ferreira, Evelyn's nephew. He was also shot in the head, though his body was not discovered until much later. Evelyn Marath was also brutally mutilated after her death, as was young David Ferreira. Marath was found nude, ripped open, and with her legs splayed. 2 household knives lay near her body. Her right eye had been partially removed, and there were multiple cuts and stab wounds about her neck. She'd been split down the middle, with a second cut across her abdomen intersecting the first gaping wound, thereby forming an inverted cross on her corpse. As was the case also with Mullins' alleged Ripper victim, whose body was discarded nearly alongside one of Kemper's alleged victims. Another cut ran up the back of Evelyn Marath's buttocks. Tests revealed that semen was present in the wound. This, just hot dogging it. This semen was never matched to that of her alleged killer. Okay, that's a problem. The bathroom of the home was a gruesome sight, with blood all over the floor and bloody water left standing in the bathtub, indicating that Marath was probably butchered there before being posed elsewhere. Mirroring this situation 5 years earlier in Santa Cruz, the homicide rate in Sacramento soared during Chase's alleged murder spree. In the 29 days between his first and last killings, no fewer than 14 largely unexplained murders plagued the capital city. Including among the dead were a baby girl killed by her father and a baby boy killed by his mother. Both of these infanticidal parents drew 3-year sentences, illustrating once again the appalling job done by the criminal justice system in protecting the most vulnerable of Americans. 3 years for executing a baby is unfucking believable. You should be lynched. Like, that is crazy. Like, yeah. On January 28th, just one day after the Marath bloodbath, Richard Chase was arrested by a 3-man team of detectives that had been working the case. Despite the fact that there were arguably the most sensational crimes in the city's history, the 3 were all rookies whose combined experience working homicide cases totaled just 6 months. Holy shit. It seemed almost as though the police, rather than turn the case over to its most seasoned homicide detectives, had opted to bring in a team of newcomers to handle the investigation. Well, what do you do at that point, right? Like, what do you do at that? Like if, anyway. Let's see. At the time of his arrest, Chase believed that he was under investigation not for murder, but for killing dogs, which he apparently was in the habit of doing. The detective quickly made it clear that Richard was being charged with multiple counts of... What?
I'm souring on this guy quickly.
Wow. He killed dogs? Not into it. You know what? That's probably like a... I bet that you get way fewer like fucked up woman letters in prison if you kill dogs than if you just
so true, dude.
I bet the women are completely intolerant of that, and they're just like, I'm okay with him killing women, but dogs? That's crazy. This guy slaughtered a bus full of kindergartners. Very hot. However, he did kill a dog. Deal breaker. That's a red flag. Let's see. He was being charged with multiple counts of murder, which he repeatedly denied knowing anything about. He readily admitted to killing the dogs, whose blood covered virtually everything in his apartment, including his handwritten notebook that reportedly featured drawings of swastikas. Chase was grilled relentlessly by detectives who showed him photographs and filled him in on the details of crimes they claimed he was guilty of committing. Steadfastly, though, Chase maintained his innocence, at one point saying, I don't know. I don't understand how it could be me. We have a fairly large footnote on this page, actually, unusual for this book. That statement by Chase, and I'll read the footnote, that statement by Chase may have been a telling one. Such speculative statements about one's own guilt or innocence, seeming to imply that the accused cannot say for certain, are quite common in the serial killer literature. Ted Bundy, who gave what are said to be confessions by speculating on what the killer may or may not have done, was particularly notorious for such comments. These types of statements are generally attributed to the killer's desire to match wits with and play games with their pursuers, and or to a desire to confess to their crimes without actually giving a legally admissible confession, to take credit for their crimes without actually incriminating themselves. However, there is another explanation. It might be that many of these alleged killers cannot honestly say whether they are guilty. They know that the persona being questioned is not guilty, but they may not be able to rule out the possibility that another persona utilizing their body may indeed be guilty. That would be particularly true if the person has blacked out the time frame for which the crime occurred. Eventually, 2 other detectives took over the questioning of Chase, showing him yet more graphic crime scene photos and hurling yet more accusations at him. Nevertheless, Richard continued to steadfastly deny any involvement in the murders, and the detectives ultimately gave up and sent him to a cell. Once there, amazingly enough, Chase promptly confessed the murders to a trusted inmate. That is to say, at any rate, the way the official story reads. To say that the case against Chase was weak would be a serious understatement. No forensics evidence placed him at or even anywhere near any of the crime scenes. Not one drop of blood, not one strand of hair, not a single fingerprint. No witnesses could place him at any of the scenes. No ballistics evidence linked him to any of the killings. The only evidence recovered at the Wallen crime scene consisted of latex glove prints and fresh shoe prints on the kitchen floor. The latter, oddly enough, were not noticed until hours after the technicians began searching the home and hours after investigators had been freely trampling over the alleged evidence. One detail of the crime scene strongly indicated that the killer was not Chase, but rather someone known to Teresa. Her ever-vigilant German shepherd, Brutus, was in the house at the time of the killing. Oh, yeah, that is a little weird and also this guy kills dogs and he left the dog alive. I don't know. It's just this dog. This one's cool. I like this one. He's not stopping me from murdering all of these people in this house. 2 sisters of David Wallen, Teresa's husband, who discovered the body, suspected one of David's former significant others who claimed to possess psychic powers and who had bragged to the 2 women that she was in a devil cult. One such cult that was active in the area, strangely enough, was the Manson family, who had relocated to the area to be near their leader's new home in a California prison cell. Indeed, the family's Lynette Squeaky Fromm had been arrested just 2 years before in 1975 in the city's Capitol Park following a failed assassination attempt on then-President Gerald Ford. One of the few presidential assassinations that we can say would have had no impact if it was successful. At the Marath crime scene, all that was left behind by the killer was again shoe prints, this time in the outside soil, and latex glove prints. A cigarette butt that may or may not have been left by an assailant was found on the porch. There was no indication that saliva on that butt was ever matched to Chase. Richard's car was apparently parked nearby, adjacent to the country club center, a fact that prosecutors pointed to as an indication of guilt. If so, Chase had parked the car rather inappropriately for use as an intended getaway car. It was quite conspicuously parked in a clearly marked no parking zone, and oddly enough, the car was not actually used. The Meredith car was driven away from the home by the killers. It appeared as though Chase's car had been deliberately left by someone in such a way that it would not fail to be noticed and in a location that would establish Richard's presence near the scene. There is a distinct possibility that whoever killed the inhabitants of the Marath home arrived in the Meredith car as well as leaving in it, which would mean that the killer almost certainly knew the victims. Neighbors across the street, who were keeping a fairly close eye on the house, saw no one enter or leave the Marath home, saw no other cars arrive, and neither saw nor heard any signs of a struggle. Perhaps the clearest indication that Chase did not act alone in committing the crime, if indeed he was involved at all, is that the tiny body of David Ferreira was found adjacent to a church nearly 2 months after Richard had been arrested. The discovery was made when a gate that was normally kept locked was found to be unlocked and left ajar. There in a box lay Ferreira's remains, stabbed, slashed, shot, and beheaded. Also in the box were the child's clothes and Danny Meredith's car keys. According to prosecutors, the body had been decomposing there since before Chase's arrest. Common sense and circumstances of its discovery suggest otherwise. When Chase's trial began on January 2nd, 1979, Richard stood before the court looking very much like a concentration camp inmate. Already a thin man, the 5'11" Chase's weight had dropped to a nearly skeletal 107 pounds. That is very, very small for a 5'11" guy.
That's smaller than I've ever been.
That's an itty-bitty fella. He sat emotionless at the defense table, his mind seemingly miles away. He was on the brink of malnutrition, or definitely malnourished, but on the brink of starvation. So, forgive him for a lack of attentiveness. As recounted by Lieutenant Ray Biondi, who headed the investigation and co-authored a self-congratulatory book on the case, the most damning pieces of evidence presented in support of the state's case were two items that Chase allegedly had in his possession at the time of arrest: a .22 caliber handgun and Danny Meredith's wallet. The .22, though, could not be matched to any of the slugs recovered from the victims, and the possibility certainly exists that the wallet was planted or was acquired by Chase after the murders. As it turned out, the strongest card in the state's hand was Chase himself. He took the stand in his own defense, just as Herb had done. Despite having entered a plea of not guilty, and not guilty by reason of insanity, Chase proceeded to give a long and rambling confession on the stand, during which he freely and accurately used psychiatric and legal jargon, according to Biondi. What he could not do, however, was accurately recall many of the details of the crimes. Chase's defense counsel greatly aided the prosecution's efforts by asking the jury to return a second-degree murder conviction against his client. Echoing the immortal words of James Jackson, he stated, "I just feel that to tell you that there is something less than murder here is not a reasonable way to argue to you." On May 8th, 1979, after just 5 hours of deliberations, the jury returned with 6 first-degree murder convictions. 6 days later, after just 65 minutes of deliberation, they found the defendant sane. 4 more hours of deliberations produced death sentences, after Chase once again took the stand during the penalty phase of the trial. Richard Chase never made his appointment with the executioner. On December 26, 1980, he was found dead in his cell from the toxic ingestion of an enormous quantity of antipsychotic drugs. His death was ruled a suicide. He allegedly had hoarded his daily medicine until he accumulated a lethal dose. His daily medication packet for that day, however, was found untouched. Not long before his premature death, Chase spent 4 months incarcerated at, where else? Cowtown. So let's see here. What do we have? Wanderer says, "I started to believe that possibly just maybe these serial killers were just fall guys." Honestly, this the fact that most of these had the same prosecuting and defense team really does kind of like rather than a I guess what would you say? Rather than like requiring a larger conspiracy, you could just say that like these people wanted to get wanted to just like clear the backlog of cases.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You just put them on. Yeah, literally that.
I mean, and if they were targeted killings for whatever reason, like say they were drug related, like the Herb Mullen ones were alleged to be, like so they're getting some money from organized crime. They're saying just like take the heat off, pin it on this random like plausibly insane drifter, right? Didn't do it, but whatever. He's crazy. Who's gonna miss him? Clear the backlog. Don't have people looking into these. You know what I'm saying? Like totally. Like I don't think it doesn't actually require a broader conspiracy than that. That's the most. Like if you think they didn't do it and the cases were bunk, which if we're trusting McGowan's statements here, yeah, I mean they seemed like pretty weak cases. Then the most logical explanation is not anything more than like the defense and prosecution teams were bribed to put it on these guys to get the heat off of investigations. So I don't think you need a network of satanic cults for that. You just need like regular economic incentives. All right. Chapter 14, Superstars. We locate a number of good hypnotic subjects among the criminal class. We then isolate and train the subjects. If allowed a free hand, the authorities could proceed to plant such prepared subjects from the criminal class where it would do the most good. George Estabrooks in Hypnotism. As the mid-1970s rolled around, the FBI's Behavioral Sciences Unit came of age. The science of criminal profile, science in scare quotes, of criminal profiling was thrust upon the American people. The term serial killer entered the national lexicon, and the marauding mass murderer suddenly became the new American anti-hero. I don't know if anti-hero is the phrase. Is that I wouldn't say anti-hero.
I'm the problem, it's me.
Would say anti-hero?
Yeah, that's just doing Taylor Swift songs. Why can't I stop?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not as much of a Swiftie as you. And look, I don't know about you, but I am feeling 22. Said all of the assassins in this. Said all of the assassins in this book. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like. Yeah, I don't think anti-hero is right, because an anti-hero is a heroic character who's heavily flawed, but not in like a classical way. I'd probably say just villainous protagonist. I don't know. Maybe I'm being pedantic here. As soon as there was a name for this new and feared breed of criminal, yeah, Vulpus persona, psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est? Let's see. As soon as there was a name for this new and feared breed of criminal, the country bore witnesses to the media giving saturation coverage of the alleged exploits of these individuals, creating larger-than-life figures out of the likes of Henry Lee Lucas, David, son of Sam Berkowitz, Theodore Robert Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, and Angelo Buono, and Kenneth Bianchi, collectively known as the Hillside Stranglers. Henry Lee Lucas, already discussed in previous chapters, had the longest reign of any of the serial killer superstars, spanning from 1975 to 1983. The alleged son of Sam, a much shorter, though quite spectacular reign, just a year into Henry's killing spree. Spectacular in the Debordian sense as well. That string of execution-style shootings have been far more thoroughly examined in Maury Terry's The Ultimate Evil than would be possible here. Interested readers are advised to pick up a copy of Terry's book, a thorough reading of which will facilitate a better understanding of this book. The 12 victims attributed to the Hillside Stranglers were killed between October 17th, 1977 and February 17th, 1978. Closely mirroring the alleged murder spree of Herb Mullen, whose 13 alleged victims were killed during almost the exact same span of time just 5 years earlier. October 13th, 1972 to February 13th, 1973. The last killing attributed to Ted Bundy occurred just 8 days before the last hillside strangling on February 9th, 1978. Bundy had been killing for 4 years or more, according to varying accounts. John Gacy's reign also ended in 1978, and he too had been killing for about 4 years, longer by some accounts. There were a number of parallels between the cases of these high-profile killers. Kenneth Bianchi, like Charles Manson, was born the son of an alcoholic teenage prostitute. His alleged partner, Sicilian-bred Angelo Buono, this is
Sicily mentioned.
Dago slander, was also born the son of a prostitute. Like Lucas, Buono spoke of being taken along with his mother while she serviced her tricks. According to some accounts, Ted Bundy's mother was an abusive young prostitute as well. Also plied her trade in the presence of her young son. Said that with a little too much pizzazz. There's a large footnote, 3/4 of the page. We're getting into positively Eric Wilsonian territory here with this footnote. It continues on the facing page. Amazing. Okay. Prostitution is a theme that runs rampant through this is the hooker subtext.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Prostitution is a theme that runs rampant through the serial killer literature. In addition to being born the son of prostitutes, frequently underage prostitutes, some future predators have themselves been forced into child prostitution, probably far more often than it has been reported. A large percentage of the victims of alleged serial killers make their living as prostitutes as well. More than a few serial killers have worked as pimps, running their own prostitution rings, as was already seen in the case of Manson. Of the alleged killers profiled in this chapter, both Gacy and Buono were involved in running prostitution rings, with both specializing in child prostitution. Other killers we will meet elsewhere in this book had close ties to the sex trade as well. Serial murder and prostitution are such frequent bedfellows. Yeah, I see what you did there. Precisely because of both of these activities tend to carry the heavy stench of mind control. As numerous studies have shown, the vast majority of prostitutes begin their careers at a very young age as child prostitutes. As was noted in an earlier chapter, almost all child prostitutes are born of a lifetime of abuse. They work the streets either because the conditions in their own homes are so horrendous that the street life is actually preferable, or because a family member has forced them into prostitution. These are people who will, to an overwhelming degree, have very strong tendency to dissociate and who are therefore prime targets for mind control operations. Any good pimp has at least a general understanding of that fact.
Any good pimp
has at least a general understanding.
What you be calling a bad pimp, y'all?
What you calling a bad pimp? This is the fucking haters ball. Fuck all y'all. We know about DDD. That's right. DDD, get your ass over here. I love you, Daddy. I know you do, bitch. Fuck you. That's right. Let's see. All right. Any good pimp has at least a general understanding of the facts. That is why the image of the abusive pimp maintaining control over his brazenly exploited flock is such a pervasive one. Psychologists and sociologists have long stumbled over mountains of jargon and double talk, attempting to explain why prostitutes will remain fiercely loyal to a man who regularly beats and berates them while appropriating nearly all of their earnings. Buddy, you answered your question with the question. That's why.
That's why I'm a podcaster.
That's why I'm a podcaster, because that's the answer. They stay with him because he beats them and takes all their money. And that's what women are like. They're into it. I mean, they've been DDD'd, but there's reasons why DDDing works. The same is true of the proverbial battered wives who refuse to leave men who repeatedly rape and beat them. Marital rape truther here. I'm gonna never mind. Meaningless terms such as battered wife syndrome are routinely tossed out to try to explain this phenomenon. When I asked none of these victims, housewife or prostitute, can really explain why they chose to remain in such a chronically abusive environment. Because they are women. The ugly reality is that all of these women, whether on the streets or in the home, are to varying degrees victims of mind control. And a careful reading of the literature reveals that virtually all such victims have suffered a lifetime of abuse, beginning long before their current abuse entered the picture. Current abusers entered the picture. Of course, most of them are not victims of the systematic and highly refined techniques practiced by the intelligence community, but they are mind control victims just the same. And so it is with those we think of as serial killers. All right. Bianchi, Bundy, and Gacy all had an intense interest in law enforcement work. Bianchi, for example, studied police science in college, went on ride-alongs with the LAPD, joined the sheriff's reserves. The fuck is that? Can you just be like a random deputy? Can you just they just call you in for when they need a posse or something? Was known to carry a California Highway Patrol badge, whomst among us. Gacy was described by his wife as a police freak. Weird description. Well, a description that was applied to him by others as well. Very strange. LARPer would probably be it nowadays. Ted Bundy also expressed a strong interest in pursuing a law enforcement career, and at various times worked for the Seattle Crime Prevention Advisory Committee, the King County Law and Justice Planning Office, the Seattle Crime Commission, and as a self-employed law enforcement consultant, billing himself as TRB Associates. Interesting. What a bullshit job. That's great. That's amazing. Another common thread that ties cases of these men together is an early experience in the workforce that exposed them to the depravities that one human can inflict upon another. Kenneth Bianchi, for example, worked for a time as an ambulance attendant. So did John Wayne Gacy, who also was employed at a mortuary. Such an experience is what the intelligence community refers to as blooding. In a similar vein, see what you did there? Yep. The entire country is being blooded through, though on a lesser level, through near constant exposure to a television and video game diet increasingly dominated by scenes of graphic violence. True. So true. Not as true as he knew, though, because he wrote this before social media was as it is. Yeah, I mean, you think about how hard it would be to get like endless videos of the Chinese being destroyed by industrial equipment, but it'd be tough for me to avoid that for more than 24 hours. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Or like car accidents in India, right? Like you just didn't have access to that. Imagine how hard it would be to get like a bunch of Indian traffic deaths on VHS in 1985. Be fucking impossible, right? I mean, there are probably a lot of them happening, but you just wouldn't know. But yeah, there's definitely true that the media diet has an impact and does play to the DDG, to the DDD method. Let's see. The effect of this is to radically desensitize individuals or an entire society to appalling levels of bloodshed and carnage. Another I don't think it actually desensitizes people, though. It does not. I think it actually makes people more sensitive in certain respects. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it makes people more sensitive in certain ways. Mm-hmm. It just has this, for most people, it contributes to the low level of very distributed dread. Like, why do people have anxiety, etc.? Another commonality. What?
Maybe they should,
Maybe anxiety is rational. Yes. Okay, Ilol. Right. Jacques. Another commonality among some of the more high-profile serial killers profiled in this chapter, and others are Uncle Ted's not around tonight. We'll see. Hopefully we'll see him next time. But among some of the more high-profile serial killers profiled in this chapter, and others are seemingly improbable connections to very high-ranking members of their respective political parties. Gacy, for example, was a fixture in Chicago Democratic Party circles. Despite his colorful and at times criminal past, he had a high enough security clearance to have once had a face-to-face meeting with then First Lady Rosalind Carter. Ted Bundy was equally well connected to various Republican Party officials. As a final note here, before taking a closer look at the stories of these men, it should be noted that the era in which their crimes were committed was a time when reported cases of multiple personality disorders skyrocketed. Before the decade of the 1970s was over, twice as many cases had been reported in that 10-year span as in the previous 100 years. There are indications that all of these alleged killers suffered for varying degrees from a dissociative disorder. Bianchi was diagnosed as such by a number of therapists, though his diagnosis was disputed by others, including the CIA's own Martin Orne and Margaret Singer. Though never formally diagnosed, Ted Bundy displayed unmistakable signs of dissociative disorder as well. Not only could Bundy's personality change at a moment's notice, but his physical appearance could as well. Bundy had a chameleon-like ability to alter his appearance, an ability that is clearly displayed in the numerous photos of him that grace the pages of the various books he has inspired. A neighbor of his in Florida once offered his observation, "He always looks different." I don't know. Sometimes he just doesn't even look like the same person at all. Diana Smith, a therapist and Bundy family friend, wondered how Ted could be so many different things to so many different people. How did you not catch this one, bitch? An investigator on the Bundy case, Joe Alloy, claimed that he once observed Bundy react to a particularly stressful situation by spontaneously and quite radically altering his physical appearance. Fucking shapeshifter. Ted's body and muscle tone changed markedly, and he suddenly became sweaty and began emitting a noticeable odor. He shat himself. What are you talking about? The judge who presided over Ted's Colorado trial referred to him as a changeling, noting the unsettling way in which his appearance could change dramatically with his mood. The judge drew a comparison to Vincent Bugliosi's description of Charles Manson's similar ability. Bugliosi was not the only one to make that observation about Manson. Disciple Susan Atkins once said, "Charlie changes from second to second. He can be anybody he wants to be. He can put on any face he wants to put on at any given moment." Let's see. Footnote here. That ability is very real, though extremely rare physiological phenomenon. George Estabrooks explained it decades ago in his seminal work, Hypnotism, as a hypnotically induced phenomenon that is indicative of a severe dissociative disorder. Estabrooks also explained such religious supernatural phenomena as speaking in tongues, the appearance of stigmata, and the channeling of spirits by mediums as hypnotic or dissociative phenomena. Although John Wayne Gacy did not have the ability to alter his physical appearance, as Detective David Hockmeister of the Des Plaines police observed, his personality could change in a split second. Gacy was viewed by many as a pillar of the community, a man who was politically active and well-connected, who gave of his time freely to entertain children, was a valued neighbor who regularly hosted parties with hundreds of guests, and who was a successful businessman and loving father. On the other hand, he also had the unique distinction of being convicted of 33 counts of first-degree murder. How are we to reconcile these two sides of John Gacy? Men such as he are usually said to be sociopaths. They're said to be lacking a conscience. The persona that is presented to the public is said to be nothing more than an elaborate ruse, an emotionless facade disguising the monster within. But is it not just as likely, if not more so, that the public self is, in fact, a legitimate personality, separate and distinct from the one that does the killing? And when the monster emerges, does this represent the facade slipping away or an altered personality emerging? Or is there any difference? Is the sociopath label not, in the final analysis, just another way of describing multiple personality disorder? Kenneth Bianchi is, like many other serial killers. Let's break there for a second. Wow. I kind of I got into like a flow state there. I dissociated.
Yeah, you've been going
in that last sentence. Sorry. Sex Frequent says she reported he could be brown, he could be blue, he could be violet sky, he could be hurtful, he could be purple, he could be anything you like. That's right. I like the changeling idea. I like John Wayne. I like the Ted Bundy skinwalker explanation. You know, when Hudson and I first started this show, we were thinking of doing like some more of the like more fun conspiracy stuff. You know, like skinwalkers and Bigfoot and shit like that. But you know, then we were like, no, let's just do let's we got on this Jolly West train, and now it's all about how your mind is being controlled by information. That's it. Now it's the least fun, most potentially damning information you could possibly be delivering to people. Yeah. Let's see. Johnson 30-6. There are MKUltra papers about creating different personalities and using them to spy on each other. If caught the Manchurian spy, honestly wouldn't be able to confess anything. Yeah. That's a you have to activate them to get the information, to get the info dump. And if you haven't activated them, there's actually no way that the spy could do anything. Like even under torture, they just couldn't do it. I think I have a copy of Esther Brooks's Hypnotism, which I have not read, but I got it in I purchased a collection of books on these topics because they included several of Jolly West's pieces of work that were not published anywhere else. But that would be a good one. Sex Freakman, has it been established that if this works on any non-Chinese subjects? Yes, they don't have to be literally Manchurian, but it does help. Yeah. And Johnson 30-6 says, thanks for doing these topics, Cap. I feel seen. Well, hopefully you don't feel seen by the entire team of gang stalkers. All right. You know what? I think we might actually get to Jolly West. We might. We're a couple pages away. I think we got time. Kenneth Bianchi is like many of the other serial killers of unknown parentage. Well, you said he was an Italian. So what do you mean? He was born in the son of an alcoholic teenage prostitute. Well, what do you mean? Yeah. On May 22nd, 1971 in Rochester, New York, and then privately adopted by the Bianchis. His adopted parents were repeatedly reported to the Rochester Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children for their treatment of their son. Great. Amazing. Ken was taken frequently to doctors and administered unspecified tests at the urging of his mother, who also frequently kept him home from school for prolonged absences, including nearly his entire kindergarten year. Not that that fucking matters. Fucking kindergarten? Who cares? This is fucking finger painting. Pain in the ass. As a child, Bianchi frequently lapsed into trance-like states, during which time his eyes would roll back in his head. He later recalled enduring such punishments as having his hand held over a stove flame. He also is said to have once killed a cat and left it on his neighbor's porch on Halloween. Thematic. Following high school, it's less bad. Am I wrong in saying that that's less bad on Halloween than it would be on, like, Christmas?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Halloween's pretty sacred.
Yeah, but it's also
All Hallows Eve.
Yeah, but it's also
you're
the
really offending our
holiday.
Mexican audience here.
But it's also the spooky holiday.
And we don't like have zero Mexican audience. You're getting rid of them. We're not gonna get no sneeted pesos.
All of our, you know what? It's a little weird because Penultimo, I believe, Penultimo has super chatted us, and I thought that.
Yeah, I thought he's a Mexicano, isn't he?
No, he's Salvadorian. But I thought that came through in like local currency, but it was definitely in real money.
Was it?
So, yeah. I would love it. If we weren't esoteric online racists, we would probably get more interesting currencies in the donos.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
We don't get a lot of shekels.
Some of our,
Frankly, I think that's racist.
That we don't have any Israeli.
I don't think the Israelis like us, and I think it's because we're white.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I assume you're white.
Well, I mean, I am a quarter Sicilian, so that means I'm 1/8 eggplant.
Yeah.
So
eggplant,
Moulignon.
Great film,
just like Bianchi. Yeah. So let's see. All right. So yeah. So he participated in the holiday spirit of Halloween. All right. He hasn't done anything wrong yet. Following high school, Bianchi sought psychiatric care and married briefly, though the union lasted just 8 months. Woof. He also attended junior college, studying psychology and police science, and reportedly making frequent use of his school's medical facilities. He found work both as a bouncer and as an ambulance attendant, and apparently considered an Air Force career, for which he took a qualifying test. Very Italian coded, I believe it. Sometime during his early adult years, Bianchi also joined a biker gang, which ostensibly was the inspiration for the rather remarkable tattoo that he sported on his arm. Satan's Own MC. Amazing. Okay. Wait, weren't the Satan's Own weren't they one of the biker gangs that helped out Charles Manson?
Well, I don't know nothing.
It was definitely in one of those. See Wooked up basically Cameroonian. What do you mean? Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
They tell me that.
Yes. I did get a spam call from someone today who was like, "Hello, my name is Blaine Thompson." And I was like, "Come on." Come on, man. It's too much fucking isn't. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Perhaps not surprisingly, Ken had gaps in his memory and would sometimes find himself walking down a street with no memory of how he got there or what he had been doing immediately prior. Such episodes are clear signs of a dissociative disorder, a category that includes fugue states and amnesia, as well as MPD, DID. At the age of 26, Ken arrived in Hollywood, California, and moved in with his cousin, Angelo Buono. And Angelo's son, also named Angelo Buono, Jr. We'll call him Junior. Bianchi readily established access to a steady supply of drugs, for which he both sold and used. He also, rather improbably, set up shop as a therapist, sharing office space with a legitimate therapist in North Hollywood. During his time in California, man, imagine being the therapist who's subleasing to the Hillside Strangler. Your judgment of character deeply in question. During his time in California, Ken claimed to be getting outpatient treatments for cancer, and he regularly visited a hospital to receive those treatments. He generally preferred to go alone to these appointments, although sometimes his girlfriend, Kelly with an I, drove him there and then waited in the car for him to return. Bianchi, of course, never actually had cancer. There's no question, though, that he was indeed making regular visits to a medical facility. He was receiving some kind of treatments. Although at least one of his chroniclers has claimed that Ken would, on a regular basis, enter the hospital, randomly kill time by reading and hanging out, and then return to the car. What possible purpose would be served by his doing so is left unexplained, as is how Bianchi was able to bring home legitimate receipts in medical forms following these treatments. Ken's cousin and reputed partner, Angelo Buono, reportedly had a strong bond with his mother, whom he frequently accused of being a whore. He never lived more than a couple miles from her throughout his entire adult life. Standard Italian. Nothing weird about that. Angelo quit high school at the age of 16 and was shortly thereafter remanded to the custody of the California Youth Authority. By the age of 20, he was known for his flamboyance, exemplified by his habit of driving new Cadillacs. It is unclear how he suddenly acquired such wealth. Normal Dago. Come on. Normal Dago. Buono repeatedly apparently had a lifelong penchant for underage girls. During his life, he married at least 2 of them. He fathered, well, at least he commits, you know. He's not a pervert. He's just Italian. He fathered at least 8 kids by his numerous wives. He reportedly regularly sodomized all of them. His kids or his wives? Or all of them. I guess all of them. Okay, that's weird. He also beat and sodomized his wives, often in front of the children. First part, not as unusual as the second. Angela's sons and only daughter were frequent visitors to the house that their dad shared for a time with Ken Bianchi. Many young girls were frequent visitors as well, and some even lived there for varying periods of time. Angelo has been described as a magnet for women, and he had a constant stream of it's because of the beatings and the sodomy that he's a magnet for women. I just, there's an implicit question as to how this could be the case. I just have to tell you, it's the beatings of the sodomy. And he had a constant stream of mostly teenage girls passing through his home. It is so much harder for a guy who doesn't want to beat and sodomize women to keep one around, right?
I have no comment.
It's easy. Like a guy who's willing to do that can get a bunch of them, but a dude who doesn't want to do that, you got to commit to a good one, because you can really only manage to keep one around and happy if you're not beating and sodomizing them. That's just how it is. Many of them were working for him. His auto upholstery shop also served as a front for a teenage prostitution racket. Some of his girls, including 16-year-old Sabra Hanen and Rebecca Gay Spears, a 15-year-old biker's daughter. Rebecca spelled Rebekah, and Sabra Hanen. Also, he's getting the Jewish girls, and he's getting the Khazar milkers. He's getting the Khazar milkers, guys. A 15-year-old biker's 15-year-old. Okay, well, all right. Were kept virtually enslaved with regular beatings, rapes, and threats of death and dismemberment. I'm sure they were very happy. Angelo supplied these services of these young girls to the city's businesses and political elites, including a city councilman, a police chief, a chief aide to the member of the LA County Board of Supervisors. Such favors had earned sidekick Bianchi the right to display an LA County seal on his windshield of his Cadillac. Bono and Bianchi had a connection to the Hollywood crowd as well. Angelo once shared a home with actor Artie Ford, a friend of fellow actor Jay Silverheels, the Lone Ranger's Tonto. He also repaired cars for Frank Sinatra and for reputed mafioso John Bonanno. John Banana.
Bonanno.
Bonanno.
I wonder if he had a sister.
Hannah,
I'm so glad you picked that one up. That was a good one.
Hannah Banana. Buono's daughter claimed that her father once drove her to Sinatra's Palm Springs home, where Angelo dropped off a package. Several of the suspects identified during the course of the investigation were Hollywood names as well. The first suspect, noted other member of the Rat Pack, Sammy Davis Jr.
My favorite of them.
Previously mentioned in this book as a Satanist.
And he's a notable Republican, Sammy Davis.
One-eyed black Jew, Sammy Davis Jr. Yeah, right. Let's see. The first suspect booked was actor Ned York, who gave a long and rambling confession to the crimes. Another man questioned in connection to these stranglings was identified as a minor actor who had a film studio set up in his home. An aspiring actress told of it seems really expensive for the time period. It's like home cameras were not, Anyway, an aspiring actress told of going to his home for an audition and being forced to participate in the production of hardcore S&M films. Yet another, what do you fucking expect? Come on. What, you want to be a star? You want to be a star?
What's a
you want to be a star,
S&M
don't
film?
you?
What is a soft
no penetration,
S&M
right?
film?
No penetration. That's the difference.
Wow.
Isn't that the difference between hardcore and pornography? No penetration.
What do I look like?
You look. I know what you look like. You look like a guy who's seen some pornography.
Yeah, very little.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
No call for the documents. I'm pretty sure that's the difference. Yet another suspect was a man identified only as a famous Hollywood producer. Like, what is hardcore foot porn? Right? Like, what is hardcore foot fetish porn?
Now that I know a little about.
The statement would be that it would just be like I would think that it's not actually possible to have hardcore foot fetish porn. I think it's only softcore.
You get a hole in there
because you just get a hole in the foot. You just get someone
really
bad.
Ask old Ed Gein.
Ask Ed if you can figure it out. Yeah.
Need him some super chats.
Let's see. He was stopped by police while driving the car of a convicted rapist, accompanied by a young girl, and he was discovered to be in possession of a phony police ID. That will get you arrested. Buono was known to have two avid interests that are common to many alleged serial killers: guns and Polaroid photography. Angelo reportedly owned 5 rifles, 2 .45 caliber handguns, and a Thompson submachine gun. He also owned a Polaroid camera, with which he was said to have photographed some of the pair's victims, although such photographs were never produced at trial. Buono and Bianchi's first purported victim was a black prostitute and drug dealer named Yolanda Washington. If I wrote that, people would say I was racist. Named Latrina Bidet. Whose nude body was found along Forest Lawn Drive. She had been strangled with intense force after having sexual contact with at least 2 men. Not long before her death, she and a group of fellow prostitutes had sold Buono a trick list. A month before Washington's body was found, a girl named Laura Collins was found similarly strangled and dumped not far from Forest Lawn Drive. But her death, oddly enough, was never attributed to these so-called hillside stranglers. Well, you know. Oh my God. Vulpes persona Yakuba Matata. Yeah. Yakub is in control. Oh, Father Yakub. The next victim, Judith Ann Miller, also a prostitute, was found sprawled nude on Halloween Day 1977. Thematic. She had been carefully placed by 2 or more individuals and had marks on her face, wrists, and ankles that suggested that she had been gagged and bound, but her bindings had been subsequently removed. There were said to be 2 witnesses to the abduction, both of whom, like the killers and the victim, reeked of mind control operations. One was a woman who had worked as a subject for a professional stage hypnotist. He had hypnotized her on literally hundreds of occasions. She claimed to have seen Miller get into a car with a light-skinned black man. The other witness was a male bounty hunter named Marcus Camden. He saw the victim get into a dark blue limousine, which was said to be definitely not Ken's Cadillac. He described the driver as a dark man with curly hair, Latin-looking, and with a big nose. Latin-looking man with a big nose. Do we know of any groups here? Never mind. Okay. Neither witness saw a second man in the vehicle, although both Bianchi and Buono were later said to have participated in the abduction. Investigator Frank Salerno promptly checked Camden into Cedars-Sinai Hospital for tests, for reasons that are unclear. Much later, Camden allegedly positively identified Angelo. At the time, he was voluntarily committed to Richmond State Hospital in Indiana. As an interesting side note, witness Camden was missing 2 left fingertips, which is, according to some unconfirmed reports, an identifying mark of some satanic cults. Wow. That's commitment.
Wow.
That's commitment. Yeah. The next victim was Lisa Teresa Caston, an exotic dancer in the LA Knockers dance troupe. She was likely a prostitute as well. You think? At the very least, she had considered the profession and had discussed it with others. A witness who worked on a composite drawing described Lisa's abductor as a white or Latino man with an olive complexion and acne in his late 20s, 6'2" or 6'3", tall, 150 to 160 pounds, with a thick mustache and a small mole on his left cheek, a description that didn't fit Buono or Bianchi. Jill Barkham was the next victim. She was, like others, a prostitute who was found nude and strangled. Following her was Kathleen Robinson, and that's her epitaph. That's it. You get one sentence. Following her was Kathleen Robinson, described as being part of the street scene. Unlike the others, she was found fully clothed. Next was Christina Weckler, an honors student at Pasadena Art Center. She was found nude and strangled. She had had Windex injected into her arms and neck. Wild. That is awful. Ugh. I guess she really was just working her way through college. Huh. So 1 out of 10 is actually working her way through college. By the way, that's what we're working
Every
on.
once in a while, you find somebody that's really like
Doing it. Yeah.
what do you call them? I can't remember the word for it.
A hooker, a pretty woman, a hooker with a heart of gold. One of those? Is that what you're saying? What are you going for? Sure. All right. Bob Grogan, one of the lead investigators on the Strangler Task Force, pocketed and subsequently suppressed Weckler's personal notebook, a flagrantly illegal act that he later openly acknowledged. Grogan, who had connections to Santa Monica's advisor on the T.J. Hooker television series, interesting, had connections to Santa Monica's Rand Corporation, which is widely regarded by researchers as a CIA front. I mean, the Rand Corporation does real things, but it has obvious State Department connections. Yes. Let's see. Volpus Persona for $5 interlibrary loan. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Let's see. Bob Grogan, TJ Hooker, etc. The next two victims were Sonia Johnson and Dolly Cepeda, who were just 14 and 12 years old. Jesus Christ. Following them was Jane King, who was picked up across the street from the Scientology Manor, where she was reportedly taking acting classes. Alarming. The body of Lauren Wagner was next to be discovered. This is a list of bitches. Like, what is this? This should have been bullet points. Next to be discovered, she had been strangled and electrocuted. There were purportedly at least 3 witnesses to her abduction, although all of them were problematic. One of these was a neighbor, Beulah Stouffer, who reportedly witnessed the abduction from the window of her home, after which she claimed to receive a threatening phone call. She said that she had seen 2 men argue with Wagner before dragging her into the car and had heard Lauren scream, "You won't get away with this." They did. Strangely enough, she did not initially report what she had witnessed. Stouffer ultimately identified both Buono and Bianchi as the girl's abductors after being questioned by Grogan on more than 100 occasions by his own accounting. That's crazy. Prior to a visit to the crime scene by Buono's jury, Grogan later tampered with the scene by going to Stouffer's house to trim her front hedges, which normally block the view out of the window that Stouffer claimed to have witnessed the crime from. That is really good thinking. You know, he's putting in the extra effort, to be honest. Yeah. Anyway. Another neighbor claimed to have witnessed the abduction of the girl as well. But this witness also failed to initially report the incident. A third witness, I'm being hillside strangled right now. Sandbatch, talk.
Happens to the best of us. You know, I got hillside strangled once by a member of the Iceland female hockey team.
What was that like?
This real issue with these things, though. I've been entertained at times by this book. First of all, I'm really on the edge of my seat waiting for Jolly. But I have this terrible thing that I've only recently discovered about myself, where I'm like incapable of like paying attention for long periods of time to ontological ugliness. And this is an ontologically ugly book.
It's quite ugly. Yeah. There's not a lot fun going on here, despite all of the dead hookers. Let's see. The problem with finding a hooker with a heart of gold is that you got to get to the heart.
Wing.
Yeah. And then by that time, it's a little late. Let's see.
What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah. Let's see. Another neighbor claimed. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. I'm dead. I'm dying. That's it. All right. Another neighbor claimed to have witnessed the abduction of the girls as well, but this witness also failed to initially report the incident. A third witness claimed that he just happened to be driving by at the time of the abduction. The man was said to be a convicted killer who had been cured at Atascadero, just like Ed Kemper had been cured at the same facility. Amazing. Forensics evidence indicated a culprit other than Bianchi or Buono. A substance found on the corpse was determined to have come from a type B secretor, which ruled out both of the cousins. Amazing. A type B secretor. A type B secretor could be here.
Yeah. You don't even. I wonder what type of secretor I am.
I wonder what kind of secretor I am. Yeah, that's right.
Ladies.
Blood-based. What are you gonna do, Anon? Hillside strangle me? Hillside strangling victim. Last words. A substance found that's type B secretor. At the trial, the state argued that the substance was nothing more than ant residue. Okay. It's a type B ant, though, right? The media, which had been focusing on their bright lights on the trial, decided for no apparent reason not to provide coverage of the rather dubious testimony. The next victim, Kimberly Diane Martin, was found in a vacant apartment, bound, gagged, strangled, and with a fractured skull and blood dripping from her ear. She was an underage out-call prostitute who had been dispatched to meet a trick. The request had reportedly been phoned in by Ken Bianchi. Just 3 days after her death, Bianchi went on a ride-along with the LAPD. The last victim attributed to the Hillside Stranglers was Cindy Lee Hudspeth, who was strangled and stuffed nude into the trunk of a car, which was then pushed over an incline. Bianchi would later claim in a purported confession that the car was pushed over front end first. Evidence indicated otherwise. This was just one of many details that his confessions would get wrong. Soon after the killings began, a task force was established that included elements. You know who the real victim is here, and who's not getting.
Because I have to sit here and listen to it. Then,
wow.
Damn.
You know who the real victim here is? The pimps, the hardworking pimps whose bitches are getting murdered, right? Because that's their income, right? They have a claim on that income, and there's no insurance for pimps. And that's why they say it isn't easy, because you put all this time to mind control these bitches. And then you send them out, normal day at the office, right? And they get ritualistically murdered. What the fuck? It's the only business where your inventory might get ritualistically slaughtered. It's crazy. It's a crazy downside risk. That's why
maybe others.
That's why they say what? Other businesses like that?
Yeah. I mean, you got a different idea what business maybe, any business conducted in Latin America could end in ritual slaughter.
I mean, okay, true, but your inventory isn't getting ritualistically slaughtered.
It depends on what your inventory is.
Oh, I mean,
what about the Aztecs?
I mean, okay, but they were selling them for that.
Okay, I guess. Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like that's
still ritually slaughtered. Oh, you're saying it's like nobody was breaking into the prisoner's den and slaughtering them before the slaughter.
Yeah, look, Seawook Dev understands exactly what I'm saying. Oh, is that why my small business loan keeps getting turned down?
All right.
Yes, that's why. That's it. Yep. All right. Let's see here. Soon after the killings began, a task force was established that included elements of the LAPD, the LA Sheriff's Department, and the Glendale Police Department. It eventually grew to include 162 officers. The task force's headquarters was in room 832 of the Justice Building, which had been converted from its original use as a courtroom, the very same courtroom where Charles Manson had been tried and convicted. The team was led by Frank Salerno, who had earlier headed a narcotics team that had arrested the very same Charles Manson on drug charges. Also on board the task force was the aforementioned evidence tamperer Bob Grogan. Weekly press conferences were held by then-Chief Daryl F. Gates, who had little progress to report as the killings continued, with some of the bodies showing up carefully posed in the hills near the LA Police Academy. All of the victims had been raped, and yet semen tests were conducted reportedly yield nothing. Ken Bianchi was questioned on multiple occasions during the investigation by at least 2 LAPD officers and 1 Glendale cop, but he was cleared each time. he was just shooting blanks, man. One expert conducted by the press was none other than Dr. Lewis Jolyon West.
Bum, bum,
Hey,
bum, bum,
Ba, ba,
bum.
ba, ba,
Main character is
ba.
here.
The main character is here.
It's like the
Yes, the main character is here, Dr. Lewis Jolyon West, a prominent member of the False Memory Syndrome Foundation who is connected to numerous covert CIA operations throughout his career. Way to gloss it. Way to gloss
well,
it.
we don't want to do
McGowan.
There's already been a lot of lists of shits here. And I imagine Dave is just expecting we're familiar with his other work.
Yes. Known for his other work. West told the LA Times it would be most unlikely to find this done by more than one person. This type is almost always the work of a single person. This was
It's
an
so
obvious.
him. Oh my God.
Yes.
It's
This was an obvious bit of disinformation that flew in the face of known facts of the case. Not long after the Hillside Stranglings, West was one of the first prominent mouthpieces to promote the mass suicide story to explain what happened at Jonestown. This was another rather obvious bit of disinformation. I actually didn't realize that. I didn't realize he was one of the first people to say that. However, I will mention that in another book, that in actually Aberration in the Heartland of the Real, Wendy Painting, PhD, cites Robert Guffey as stating that Jolly West was one of the first people to state definitively that that the OKC bombing was the work of a single person. And the interview on Larry King's show with Jolly West was very hard to find, but I did find it. And Jolly West says nothing of the sort. So I want to know where he said it. Well, and in Aberration in the Heartland of the Real, Wendy Painting actually says, like, she considers it unconfirmed because Guffey apparently had makes some shit up, basically. Like, so he's not really a trustworthy source. So but she had stated that. When I found it, she was like, yeah, fuck. So anyway, I don't know if that's really, I don't know if West was one of the first people to say that the Jonestown massacre, mass death event, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if he said it was mass suicide. So I'd love to know where, but yeah. Let's see. Margaret Singer and Jolly West worked together a lot, like a ton, an absolute ton. There's actually a really,
you think that kid would die. Like, it's like the Ouroboros of having children.
What?
Margaret Sanger and Jolly West, they'd have
Singer,
a kid together.
Singer,
Okay.
Singer, not Jolly West. I see what you mean by Margaret Sanger and Jolly West together being the Ouroboros of family death, because the kid would be aborted and euthanize his parents. Yes, as John West assisted suicided Jolly West. Yeah, yeah, interesting. Okay, all right. 3 months after the last killing, Bianchi left the Los Angeles area for Bellingham, Washington. Was that it? Was that all of it? That's all that we
Bellingham,
get.
Washington. That's it. That's what I told you. It's just like George Smiley just showed up.
No, I'm saying we get one paragraph on Jolly West.
Yeah. Well, we didn't think we were getting anything.
Yeah, that's true. We didn't get. I don't know. McGowan's leaving out a lot of the MKUltra people.
Not his best moment.
What?
This book is already huge. How,
it's not that big. We're only on page 173. The book's not that big.
Jeez.
It's like we're more than halfway through. Yeah. Yeah, it's not like it's no aberration in the heartland of the real.
I thought this one was like I hit that the Laurel Canyon one is huge.
Is it? I think that one's like 400 pages.
And that's big.
Yeah, it's not a.
All right, I'm a writer.
It's not a novella. All right. Yeah.
No.
All right. Let's see. 3 months after the last killing, Bianchi left the Hold on 1 second. We got 10 minutes left in the show. We're not making it. I think we're just gonna. Yeah, we'll just stop it. We'll just come back here since there was sort of a natural break in the aside about Jolly West. We got.
Oh, dude, what are you gonna be with Sex Freakman's like? I paid $5 fucking. No, he didn't.
What?
Sex Freakman never pays us.
Sex Freakman didn't say anything about paying $5.
Yeah, no. Who's our regular super chat sneakers?
Randall
They get their
Shirker.
$5 worth.
They got our we're not ending the show right now.
No, okay.
I'm not going to continue because there's a natural stopping point in the reading.
Fair.
We have less than 10 minutes. All right. Randall Shirker sends $10.
Oh, look at that.
Keep in mind, Cap, at this time, Jolly West was really only talked about in militia spaces. And even then, most of what we know now wasn't known until after Aberration and Chaos. Fair, however, like Jolly West was like prominent. He was like a go-to interview guy, right? You could read the things he was publishing. I mean, he had published about murdering an elephant.
Yeah, he was he was alive. You could go knock on his door.
Yeah. Now, of course, the MKUltra stuff was not out, right? Like the connections to MKUltra and that type of stuff was.
I don't know that it was not out. I think it was to one extent or another.
I do not believe so. Yeah. It was confirmed in the 90s. Most of the evidence was released in the 90s. Yeah. And then the rest of it, or not the rest. So its existence was revealed in 75 by the church committee. Right. But most of the shit was like not revealed until the 90s. There was a cache in 77, and then there was a bunch in the 90s, and then a bunch more was released in 2001, right? And I think that was the last major release. So that's the R.I.P. Tusco, though. Yeah.
I mentioned Judy.
Yeah. Well, of course. I mean, yeah, Judy. I'm gonna lump in with Tusco. Mr. and Mrs. Tusco. I'm gonna lump Judy in with Tusco because one flesh, right? They were married. They were married in the eyes of God. I think that elephants can go through the Catholic sacrament of marriage, and I believe that Tusco and Judy did. That's my belief. That's my personal belief. And she was a faithful widow. She eschewed all other men. Tusco was her guy. That was it. Judy was a beloved foster mother to many elephants or baby elephants. Elephants. Yes.
Such a strange mood. What the hell?
What?
You've been in such a strange mood all night.
I have.
You
think so? Oh, okay. Yeah, you have. You've been a little quiet. You've been low energy.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did mention that you had a heart attack.
I don't want to talk about it.
All right.
Freaky.
All right, that is freaky. And not like not Diantword freaky. Let's see here. What do we have? Yes. Randall Shirker says, since most of the Jolly West stuff we take for granted now was at first only taken seriously by the militia. Makes sense. McGowan doesn't go into depth there. Yeah, I mean, that's true. And McGowan also doesn't like, as I think you also mentioned elsewhere, McGowan doesn't like referencing the right-wing conspiracy sources. But if you're
Luckily, Wendy has no such compunction.
that is right. Everyone gets a shot. Although, some people think some people have mentioned that they think Wendy's a Fed.
Yeah, some people call me a space cowboy.
Some call you the gangster of love.
No.
I just call you
the idea that Wendy painting is a Fed. I mean, I don't care. Cool. She's a cool Fed.
She's a cool Fed. They're cool Feds.
I mean, it's really difficult for me to believe that the Feds are running around funding Wendy paintings.
She's a cooler Fed than Dan Bongino.
Dude, I hate to say this. I mean,
if my tax money went to fund Aberration in the Heartland of the Real 2, right? I would feel a lot better about that than the majority of other crap.
It's like totally, it's like this is totally a proper use of any H funding.
Yeah, totally. It's completely reasonable. Like, why would we suggest otherwise? Like, that's actually what it's for. And it's like, although I guess that would be, I guess that would be sort of them telling on themselves. So I don't know. Oh, that maybe is a little questionable. Maybe we don't want that. But yeah. Let's see. Shirkers, yeah, I'd rather Wendy get my tax dollars than whoever it's going to in Minneapolis. So true. Let's see. Once again, yeah, FBI informant is saying to someone else in chat, don't be mean to Sandbatch. He's in a strange mood. He just had a heart attack.
Is that ever going to stop anybody? This is the second one I've had. This is like
what?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Fair enough. Sorry, man. Okay. Yeah, Woodpit's like, she probably has connections to Feds, but is not herself. Yeah, I mean, so we have oh God, who was it? I think it was Uncle Ted in chat mentioning that he didn't believe a couple of the segments in Aberration. But I mean, I'm open to hearing about it.
When you said Uncle Ted in chat, I imagine this moment where LMD was like the Rocky Horror Picture Show where the audience comes dressed as their favorite character.
Amazing. Let's do it. We'll do LMD live. Come as your favorite terrorist. Yeah, that'd be great. Come as your favorite terrorist or murderer. That would be that's how we'll do it. Let's see. How about yeah. We'll do LMD live. I'll figure out how to hide my identity. I'll get one of those masks from a scanner darkly. All right. Well, I think we will call it there. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next week. It's going to be amazing. Randall Shirker says cap VTuber arc soon. Yeah, man. I don't know. Maybe getting AI rigging for VTube avatars is getting easier. So I have fucked with it a little, but honestly, it's harder for me to. It's honestly more of a hurdle for me to just have to learn OBS in order to do the VTubing, because I'm pretty reliant on StreamYards. But anyway, all right, we'll see you next time. Library of Mass Destruction, Blood Basins, $10. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. No comment. All right, see you next time. Godspeed. Wait, hey, hold on. Before I do this, Sandbatch.
Yeah.
You said that you were launching your book on the 20th.
Days. Give me like 3 fucking days.
Before our next show, Sandbatch will have a book out. Look out for that.
True.
All right.
Actually, if you really want to know, something happened, and I actually had to check because the way I did it. I've told you that I because I can't stand to do anything. I made a whole media company. I incorporated a whole media company to produce my little fucking like 71-page fucking book. And something happened over the weekend as well that caused me to have to update its terms. Its because we have to update its operating agreement. So I got to rebuild the website. So it'll be up in a couple of days. All right.
All right. Cool. All right. Look out for that, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.
You're discouraged from questioning and thinking critically. You must accept the word of the leaders. They make you feel guilty if you do question or argue. Your environment is often controlled, cutting you off from friends, family, school, previously held beliefs. They want you to become dependent, provide a poor diet, poor health care, little sleep, and long exhausting hours of work to make you physically weak and lower your ability to think clearly. Subtly, your self-confidence gets undermined, and your self-image or sense of identity is changed. The leaders control channels of communication. They cut off or put down outside sources of information. Then they bombard you with what they want you to think. They use strong peer pressure, playing on your desire to be loved and accepted. The leaders may promise rewards if you obey them and punishment if you don't, but they alternate harshness and leniency in order to confuse you. The leaders manipulate language, giving special meanings to words that only insiders understand. This is to make you feel like you're part of a special, important, or elite group, and that outsiders are inferior, dangerous, or doomed. You have to confess your shortcomings, mistakes, or misbehavior, sometimes even if these things never really happened. And meanwhile, your time and activities are tightly controlled. You don't have much privacy or energy or time to think because you're too busy doing monotonous, repetitive tasks. The leaders try to control you and even your sexuality, everything about you. They want to exploit you for their own enrichment, their own power or grandiosity. If they succeed, you will declare your loyalty unto its leaders, rejecting your old values and way of life. Without realizing it, you will have been changed into a person who is being controlled by a totalist cult.